Full Metal Storm, Battle of the Machines. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 495 Manjussori, Exposed. Luo Yan didn't know when he was exposed, but since he was exposed, he didn't think too much. Taking advantage of the dark night and high wind, the light was dim, and no one could see his appearance clearly. Luo Yan picked up the mask on the ground and rushed to the crowded place silently. At this time, most of the Black Witch members were still unable to react. Even the captain Zhang Zhu was stunned. Then he heard the cold shout of the minister Lin Yuanfang. "Why are you still standing there, Chase? If you don't bring this person back, you will come to see me with your head." In the cab, the minister of the Jiuying department, Lin Yuanfang, said in a deep voice. He had been hiding in the dark, waiting for the critical moment to steal the beast soul. So even Luo Yan didn't find him. But just now, when Luo Yan read his information, Lin Yuanfang felt it. After cultivating to the level of Tungsten, Lin Yuanfang's intuition and inspiration are naturally not comparable to captains like Zhang Zhu. So as soon as he dealt with the beast soul, he immediately attacked. He didn't worry about killing the wrong person at all. With his status as a minister, it didn't matter if he killed the wrong person. But if a suspicious person is let go, it may lead to the failure of the whole operation. You know, they are now in the forbidden area, and they may be targeted by Jinj City or even the giant beast strategic mansion at any time. Lin Yuanfang can't be too cautious. As a result, Luo Yan was exposed after a try, but Luo Yan rushed into the crowd at this time, and Lin Yuanfang couldn't do it. He could only let the captain Zhang Zhu do it for him. Besides, he had other important things to deal with. Lin Yuanfang immediately controlled the mecha and came to the machine. The machine was already turned on, and a metal cube was taken out with hot smoke. The mecha immediately grabbed the cube and put it into an armor on the chest. Then the mecha ran, and Lin Yuanfang wanted to take the container containing the AOI beast soul away first. Suddenly, in addition to Zhang Zhu, 3 other mechas followed, formed a team, and disappeared into the forbidden jungle. As for the others, they hurriedly packed up their things and left according to the retreat route planned before. But Zhang Zhu and Li Yaozhao were not among them. They were transferred by Zhang Zhu to chase Luo Yan together. Luo Yan rushed into the crowd, making Lin Yuanfang afraid to kill. Then he went deep into the jungle. At this time, he heard voices from behind. He knew that there were pursuers coming. This time, in order to facilitate the action, Luo Yan did not bring the dragon elephant with him. Barehanded, many combat skills could not be used. But Luo Yan had learned a lot, so he was not afraid. Without weapons in his hands, he could still use fists and palms. Bone crushing, 100 flowers killing fist, tyrant fist, shattering mountains and rivers. Which one can't be used? What's more, there are trump cards such as Sword Shadow and Yuanshan Phantom. So he used the burning eye to observe the back, and found that only Zhang Zhu and the other 2 were chasing. Luo Yan was not panicked. On the contrary, he was still planning to kill. So when he looked at Zhang Zhu, Luo Yan's speed slowed down. Thinking that the opponent had run out of physical strength, Zhang Zhu had a ferocious expression. He said to Zhao Tong and Li Yao, "Charge forward." The 2 wanted to show off, and immediately their Yuan Li burst out, and their legs were full of strength. But it also quickly turned into 2 light smoke, and caught up with Luo Yan in front. At this moment, Zhang Zhu saw Zhao Tong pounce on Luo Yan, wielding 2 swords, and slashing across Luo Yan's back. Zhang Zhu couldn't help but feel happy, thinking that Luo Yan would be injured anyway. Sure enough, Luo Yan staggered, turned around reluctantly, and punched Zhao Tong. Zhao Tong flew out in response, and fell into the bushes. Zhang Zhu didn't care, and passed by Zhao Tong. If he had paid attention, he would have seen Zhao Tong in the bushes at this moment. His eyes were wide open, and his chest had sunk unnaturally, as if he had no bones. He had stopped breathing long ago. Luo Yan had just taken 2 swords from him, and then turned around to give him a bone-crushing blow, which was not so easy to bear. Now Zhao Tong's bones were shattered, and soon turned into a pool of flesh and blood in the bushes. Zhang Zu, who was chasing closely, didn't even notice that several amber light bands that were difficult to detect with the naked eye were protruding from Luo Yan's body. They floated in the air, and when Zhang Zu approached, they probed towards Zhang Zu. Then they penetrated into Zhang Zu's body, injecting a little bit of green fireflies into the body of the Black Witch captain. At this time, Zhang Zu's mind was all on Luo Yan. Seeing Li Yao knock Luo Yan down, the two rolled in the grass, and it seemed that pieces of illusory petals floated up. Then the two stopped, and lay motionless in the grass, looking like they died together. Zhang Zu did not dare to be careless, and he used his skills. Waves of black aura surged around him, and eerie skulls appeared. Then he punched Luo Yan and the other man in the air. Immediately, several black smokes followed, condensed together, and a huge illusory skull appeared, imprinted on the two people on the ground. At this moment, Li Yao suddenly bounced up from the ground and hit the skull. With a bang, the black aura exploded on Li Yao's body, and Li Yao seemed to be bitten by some kind of beast. Suddenly, blood and flesh splattered, and many places had already exposed bones. But Li Yao said nothing, and fell to the ground with his head facing the sky. Zhang Zu saw that his subordinate had already been completely unrecognizable, and his throat seemed to be cut by a sharp blade. It turned out that he had died long ago. At this time, Luo Yan, who Zhang Zu thought was also dead, jumped up and raised his hand to blast. Amid the roar of Yuan Li, a bunch of illusory lotuses flew over, forming a long dragon with a huge momentum. It was a move in the 100 flowers killing fist. Zhang Zu sneered and waved his hands continuously, blasting out black air to collide with the lotus phantom. The two cancelled each other out. But when the two sides' fighting skills were blasting each other, a black shadow passed by on the grass, where it was pitch dark. The black shadow was like a long sword, approaching Zhang Zu all of a sudden, and then passed between his eyes. Zhang Zu first saw a black shadow passing in front of him, and before he knew when it happened, his eyes hurt and his eyes suddenly became dark. It turned out that his eyes had been scratched by the sword shadow. Zhang Zu was shocked and in pain. He blasted black smoke around in a stressful way. After a while, Zhang Zu suddenly screamed and spurted out a mouthful of hot blood. The blood sprayed onto the grass with a little green firefly. It was the poison that Luo Yan had buried in his body with amber light. This was also the last few toxin essences he had left, absorbed by amber light. With his eyes injured and poisoned, Zhang Zu was horrified. He wanted to escape, but the sword shadow passed through his neck again, but collided with Zhang Zu's protective force layer, bursting with a strange light. Zhang Zu's protective force was broken, but the sword shadow only scratched a shallow wound on his throat. After all, he was a strong man in the advanced realm, and under the poison and injury, he used his force to protect his whole body, so that the sword shadow would not succeed so easily. But at this time, Luo Yan took the opportunity to punch. The fist tip vibrated with strands of force, which turned into a red lotus swaying in the wind in the air. It is the Manjusaka that is said to only grow on the other side of the underworld. Chapter 496. Enthusiasm is high. Each move of the 100 flowers killing fist has a magical effect. For example, the pink cloud that killed Li Yao silently before. Its flower looks weak, but when it collides with the enemy, the sharp petals can splash and kill the enemy. The dragon flying that forms a long dragon is the most powerful and can be used to fight against strong enemies. As for the current Manjusana, the use of this move is to corrode armor and destroy blood. Luo Yan punched several times in a row, and one Manjusana was printed with each punch. The soft and beautiful red lotus swayed and danced in the night wind, and was lightly printed on Zhang Zu's body. Zhang Zu's body protection energy was immediately extracted by the lotus, causing the Manjusana to wither, and wither quickly, after blooming to the extreme. But Zhang Zu's body protection energy was also consumed a lot. So after several lotuses, Zhang Zu's body protection energy was as thin as white paper. Luo Yan punched it again and completely broke it. At this time, the sword shadow flashed again, and a large amount of blood immediately spurted out of Zhang Zu's throat. He covered his neck, and took a few steps. Finally, he fell on his back. In Luo Yan's scorching eyes, Zhang Zu's spirit and blood were zero. At this time, a charming red spider lily grew on Zhang Zu's body. It swayed gently in the wind, and then the illusory petals flew up and disappeared into the night. Luo Yan walked over, searched Zhang Zu's body, and then left. At this time, the whole forbidden area was crying. It was as if something tragic was about to happen, or had already happened. The bursts of crying made the giant beasts in the dangerous area irritable. They instinctively ran to the safe area and the outer edge of the forbidden area, making the students from various colleges hunting in the forbidden area feel at a loss. Luo Yan used the secret method opening the ghost wheel to avoid several giant beasts and find his disguised mecha Bion. He hurried back to the cab, started the mecha, and achieved empathy. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. With the mecha by his side, even if he ran into Aoyi, Luo Yan could escape. He was not completely without a plan. After he felt relieved, he quickly sent a message to Jinj City, reported that the Black Witch had stolen Aoyi's beast soul. Then he checked his spoils. Compared with Jiuying of Huangquan, Zhang Zu was obviously much poorer. There were not many valuable things on him. Add them together, and take them back to the dungeon to cash them in. It was only about 70,000 to 80,000 work points. Luo Yan found some good things in his mobile phone. To combat skills. They are Chasing the Wind and Shadow and Yanai Upoyan. Both combat skills are sword moves. The former is a quick sword, and the latter is a killing move. According to the records, Zhang Zu had just exchanged it from the Black Witch, but he didn't seem to have practiced it yet. So he didn't use it just now, which was a bargain for Luo Yan. Luo Yan used the strong memory to memorize the two combat skills, and then he put his palms together, and the phone shattered. Even the chip inside was destroyed by Luo Yan, and then all the fragments were thrown out of the mecha. At this time, the voice of Kyojin, the head of the Jinja City Core, sounded in the communication channel. Student Luo Yan, we have received your message. I didn't expect that the Black Witch actually stole Aoyi's beast soul. This is troublesome. Luo Yan was stunned and wondered. Aoyi lacks a beast soul, so he should be weakened a lot. Isn't it a good opportunity to destroy it? Kyojin smiled and said, if we want to destroy Aoyi, this forbidden area would have disappeared long ago. Luo Yan was surprised. He had felt strange before. Logically speaking, with the strength of Jinja City, plus the giant beast strategic cities in the underground city, there is no reason to keep the Valley of Sorrow. Now listening to Kyojin's words, Luo Yan whispered, could it be that the Valley of Sorrow needs to be preserved? This is the only explanation. Kyojin said, that's right. The ecology of the Valley of Sorrow allows a medicinal herb called Jiuying grass to grow here. And Jiuying grass is a main ingredient of tranquility agent. Mecha pilots who drive the Shenji body must take tranquility agent regularly. But at present, Jiuying grass cannot be cultivated artificially. It can only grow in special environments like Jiuying Valley. Jiuying Valley is one of the important production areas of Jiuying grass, which is why we allow Aoyi to exist. Now that Aoyi has lost his beast soul, he may lose control. If we need to kill it, the forbidden area will disappear, and we will also lose a piece of Jiuying grass production area. Luo Yan suddenly realized, no wonder Kyojin said just now that the Black Witch stole Aoyi's beast soul, which would make things very troublesome. It turns out that Jinj City is not unable to destroy Aoyi, but does not want to destroy this dominant beast. Now the dragon riders have been dispatched, and our regiment has also begun to set up outer defense lines to prevent the Black Witch's people from escaping the forbidden area. But the forbidden area is so large, and we don't know where the Black Witch's people will run to in a short time. At this moment, we can only ask you students to help. Kyojin continued, the regiment has contacted the judges of the big sports meeting, and you should receive a notice soon. In any case, classmate Luo Yan, you have helped us a lot. If you hadn't found the Black Witch, maybe we wouldn't know what happened until the matter was over. As for now, there is still hope to remedy the situation. Next, you go and act with your classmates. After the matter is over, the regiment will have its own rewards. After saying that, Kyojin ended the communication. Luo Yan drove the Bion back to the safe zone, while contacting Xiaoping and others to see where they were. On the way, as Kyojin said, the judges of the conference issued a notice. Notice to all college teams. Notice to all college teams. We have received a notice from the Jinja City Core that outsiders are now active in the forbidden area. The other party used some unknown technology to steal the soul of the Overlord Beast Aoyi. Without the soul, the Overlord Beast will be very ferocious. In order to avoid major damage, the current conference judges have decided to update the content of the Forbidden Area actual combat competition. From this moment on, all college teams will receive a 50-point reward if they find traces of foreign mechs and provide valuable clues. If you take back the soul of the beast, you will receive a 200-point reward. Please note that there may be strong people in the Tangsuan realm among the outsiders, so please don't be stubborn. Everything is based on your own safety. As soon as this notice came out, the entire forbidden area was boiling. Finding and providing valuable clues can earn 50 points. If you can take back the soul of the beast, there is a 200-point grand prize. At this point in the competition, it is basically difficult for each team to change the status quo. But now with this notice, it's different. Let alone retrieving the beast soul, even providing clues would be good. 50 points is enough for some teams that are ranked close together and have only a slight difference in points. It is completely possible to turn the tide. Immediately, the students were not annoyed by being woken up by the announcement. On the contrary, they were enthusiastic. Chapter 497 Aoyi. Just as the students were rubbing their hands and preparing to do something big, from the depths of the forbidden area, an indescribable roar was faintly heard. It sounded like the roar of a giant beast, and it sounded like the loud cry of millions of people at the same time. It made everyone's scalp tingle and their backs cold. Then they received a new notice from the judges of the conference. It mainly said that the Overlord Beast Aoyi will be dealt with by Jinj City and Chianggang Dragon Riders, and the college team did not need to fight the Overlord Beast. If you accidentally enter the war zone, retreat immediately. Then, the students began to get busy, searching for the whereabouts of the Black Witch all over the mountains and plains. It was deep in the forbidden area, at the edge of the danger zone and the core area. Hundreds of drones were distributed around, closely watching the changes in the core area. Not long after, a group of bushes began to shake. Then the surrounding grass, flowers, trees, and big trees, everything was shaking. Looking down from the sky, the whole sea of trees was shaking non-stop, as if there was a giant shaking the ground bed below. Some drones lowered their altitude, and in the command hall far away in the forbidden base, people saw some pictures. In those pictures, in the bushes, mud suddenly splashed out. Then a highly rotten dry hand stretched out from the mud. Higher than the bushes, a black shadow rolled out and fell on the grass. It was a person, with disheveled hair and almost rotten flesh on his face. There were centipedes and other insects going in and out of his eyes and nostrils. Wearing tattered clothes, he staggered to his feet. Then two eerie green fireflies lit up in his dark eye sockets. Just behind this person, one after another figure walked out from the bushes, from the leaves of flowers and plants, and from the shadows. They were shoulder to shoulder, like a torrent, gradually submerging the mountains and fields. And the ones behind walked so fast, and the ones in front had no time to disperse, and they were suddenly mixed into a ball. So in the command hall of the Jinja City base, people saw a tide of corpses rolling forward on the big screen. Tens of thousands of corpses were moving around, densely packed like worms, hugging each other and rolling forward. Seeing this scene, everyone felt a chill on their backs, which went straight to their heads. It's Aoyi. In addition to being able to control souls, it can also control corpses. Is it driving so many corpses out to find animal souls? As people continued to speculate, a large number of corpses began to disperse in the picture. Those corpses were crawling or walking in groups, divided into hundreds or even thousands of teams. Like ants marching, they began to spread in the forbidden area. The group of corpses sank into the grass, drilled into the jungle, and radiated to other directions of the forbidden area. Sure enough, look, Aoyi is out. In the core area of the forbidden area, the wind and clouds changed color, and a bone-chilling cold wind blew out from the core area. Wherever the cold wind passed, frost killed everything. Those clusters of bushes, flowers, and plants of various colors, and even rocks and trees. They all quickly climbed up the frost, and even the branches of the big trees were hung with ice spikes. Then a group of tall and majestic black shadows like mountains crashed out of the woods. Immediately, the grass and trees were crushed into powder, the trees were knocked away, and the rocks were shattered into countless stone powders. Then, another huge roar sounded. This roar was like thunder, containing unimaginable deterrent power. When it spread, it rumbled throughout the forbidden area. A strong wind was set off, whistling in all directions, and the sound spread far away. The giant beasts that heard this sound, whether they were upper or lower, trembled and hibernated. This roar and strong wind spread out, and spread to the forbidden area, and the entire forbidden forest sea was set off. The sea of trees continued to surge, and the branches and leaves continued to rub and hit, forming a shocking sound that was no less than the roar of the giant beast. Suddenly, the entire forbidden area changed color. The drones at the Jinj city base were blown by the strong wind, like small boats in the raging sea. After a while, the strong wind subsided, and the drones regained stability. Then, in the hall of the base, people saw a huge beast. It appeared in the picture. This beast was like a walking mountain, huge and amazing. Its pace was not fast, and it even looked quite slow, as if it was very strenuous to move, because of its huge size. However, every step it took on the cloud would make the earth roar. The dust curtain was shaken up, and turned into smoke. Even through the barrier, people could feel it. The terrifying pressure from the overlord beast was like awe-inspiring gods to weak humans. If there were no mechs and visualization techniques, humans would not be able to fight against such creatures. It is unimaginable that in ancient times, if such a supergiant life form appeared, it would definitely be worshipped as a god by people. And the mechs gave humans the possibility of killing gods. Boom. 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 With every step taken by the overlord beast, the entire forbidden area was shaking. Countless mutated animals and beasts were all trembling, and they dared not move at all. Some were even frightened to death, spitting out foam and died suddenly. Afterwards, no matter whether they were scared to death or not, anyone who was in the path of the giant beast was trampled into pulp. At this time, the giant beast roared to the sky again, and the sound continued to spread. Drones turned on the lights on the machines, and the light shone down. Landing on the moving mountain, it can be seen that the giant beast is shaped like a giant bull, with a snow-white body. But it is not the holy silver white like ice and snow, more like a pale corpse that is about to rot. There are 4 long curved horns on the head of the giant bull, and mysterious patterns are distributed on the 4 curved horns. Its hair is long and thick, and the long hair is scattered, and hangs down to the ground, like a white raincoat. When the giant beast moves, the hair flutters from time to time, and a faint grayish white smell will diffuse from it. The grayish white smell is full of the smell of death, and from time to time, faces with different expressions are formed in the air. Looking at the head of the beast again, under the wisps of pale hair, there is an old man's face. The face is full of wrinkles, the muscles are sagging, and some parts are even rotten. He looks very old, but his green eyes are bright and deep, and his eyes are filled with violence and anger, and he snorts from time to time. This is the master of the Valley of Sorrow, the overlord level beast. AOE. Begin the guided operation. Pull the beast to the designated battle zone. The radio waves are transmitted in the air, and the drones hovering above the beasts begin to form a formation. In groups of 5, the drones move to the west first. Then they start to attack the overlord beast, and all the weapon systems carried by the drones are activated. Several calibers of shells, including guided missiles, are all poured on AOE, not to hurt the enemy, but to attract AOE's attention. Chapter 498, Guiding Operations. Facing the bombardment of drone swarms with artillery shells and guided missiles, AOE didn't even move his eyes. He didn't even deploy his anti-membrane. With the powerful defense of caterpillars, he withstood the attack of the drone swarm. This fierce firepower that was enough to blow up an area fell on AOE, and not even a hair of his was blown off. To the giant beast, the drone swarm was like a group of noisy but harmless mosquitoes. It didn't even bother to attack the drone swarm. It just walked forward slowly, and every step shook the ground. No, the firepower of the drone swarm is still too small. It can't attract AOE's attention at all. Use drone bombers. Soon, the surface base of Jinj City made a new decision. Facing a giant beast like AOE who can affect human emotions, it is obviously safer to use drones. A gloomy whistle soon sounded over the forbidden area. One drone bomber after another carrying the powerful Thor missile entered the forbidden area. A moment later, a column of unmanned bombers had appeared above Aoyi, and with a whistling sound, the unmanned bombers began to drop missiles. One by one, the Thor missiles whistled away and landed on Aoyi's body. Once those Thor missiles were detonated, they shot out surging super high temperature flames. The flames poured down, forming a curtain of fire, and fell down. Aoyi's hair instantly turned red, but that was all. One by one, the Thor missiles exploded in succession, and the flames soared into the sky, destroying the jungle around the giant beast. In the fierce explosion, the jungle was shaking, and the trees and grass were blown to ashes. The rocks were all shattered, and even a nearby mountain was blown up for the most part. The huge stones rolled down the mountain, like rain, smashing the ground into potholes. When a round of bombing was over, the scene was thick with smoke, and the scene was a little distorted due to the high heat. The black smoke rose to the sky, and the red flames continued to flash in it, and there were billions of sparks floating in the sky. The air was filled with the smell of burning. But at this time, Aoyi walked out of the smoke and flames unscathed. The pale hair on his body was not even stained with a trace of black. Seeing this scene, although they had been prepared, everyone in the base command hall still looked bitter. It seems that our tactical weapons alone are useless. In this case, we can only notify the Dragon Riders to attack. At this time, an ethereal and soft voice sounded in the basic communication channel. Xiangang Dragon Riders, Cheyenne Kyo Star, Pan Yu is already in place. Then another deep and hoarse voice sounded. Xiangang Dragon Riders, Cheyenne Bay Star, Pan Crossing is already in place. Hearing these two voices, the base commander immediately said, "You two, our guidance operation has failed. Now it depends on you to lead Aoyi to the designated battle zone." In the communication channel, Pan Crossing and Pan Yu, the two siblings, responded in unison, "Understood." In the forbidden area, the drone group and bombers have dispersed and evacuated. They no longer have a role to participate in the next. From the distance of the forbidden area, two mechs approached quickly, one red and one purple, dragging out two gorgeous light bands in the gloomy night, like two intertwined rainbow lights. After the Battle of Changping City's Sky Overlord, Pan Crossing's mecha has been repaired. It is back in use. As he saw the figure of the Overlord Beast Aoyi in the panoramic window, Pan Crossing practiced his skills. Through the empathy system, the mecha amplified the power, so that his divine general body lit up with lines. The mysterious pattern appeared. Pan Crossing was about to take action, but he heard his sister Pan Yu's voice on the communication channel. "Brother, we just want to take Aoyi away, not to kill him." Pan Crossing said in a low voice, "Got it. Be careful of Aoyi's ghost language. It is a strange art that can bypass all protections and directly affect the mind. But now that its beast soul has been stolen, the influence of the strange art will not be so terrible, but don't be careless." This time it was Pan Yu who expressed understanding. Then, Pan Crossing's mecha hand waved, and three large flags rose behind the mecha. These large flags were broken and mottled, like flags that had been stained with countless blood and experienced countless battles. As the three large flags were raised, the mecha burst into a strong murderous aura. When the mecha raised one arm, a large flag behind it turned into a turbid stream of colorful light, which gathered in the palm of the mecha and turned into a dark and murderous spear. At this time, Aoyi finally raised his head. His face, which was full of wrinkles like an old man, looked weird under the pale hair. Two eyes flashing green light looked at Pan Crossing's mecha, and then opened his mouth, as if he wanted to say something. At this time, the mecha arm made a swinging motion, and the spear disappeared in his hand. When it reappeared, it was nailed to Aoyi's forehead. The words that Aoyi came to his mouth turned into a scream, and the spear nailed to his forehead suddenly expanded, and burst into a chaotic light. Like water, like fire, it spread rapidly over Aoyi's head. Wherever this light passed, Aoyi's face aged a few points. The originally rotten flesh and blood seemed to accelerate this process. The thick death aura corroded Aoyi's body, but at this time a grey-white light suddenly opened. This light quickly expanded, covering Aoyi's whole body, and also swallowed up a large area of jungle, covering the vast land around. This grey light covering the four fields was the anti-membrane of the Overlord Beast. Within the range of the anti-membrane, the yin energy of the forbidden land suddenly became thick, and everything was frost. Even the chaotic light that spread on its body gradually stopped moving, and the color turned pale. It seemed that even death itself was condensed by the all-pervasive cold breath. At this time, Pan Yu's mecha flew over. The mecha, which had also shown the mysterious pattern, flapped its wings like a butterfly. When it flew over Aoyu's body, that looked like a mountain, it sprinkled a bunch of powder that flashed with colorful fluorescence. When they landed on Aoyu's body, they continued to emit scarlet flames. In a blink of an eye, these flames merged into one, condensing into the outline of a red butterfly. When the red butterfly flapped its wings, boom. Scarlet flames covered Aoyu's body, causing the pale hair, that had never been damaged by the bombing of many drones before, to burn up, emitting a disgusting smell, rising thick smoke, and dancing sparks. Aoyu felt pain, and suddenly a large amount of grey-white air surged out from his hair. They brought extreme coldness, which quickly extinguished the burning flames on his body. Then Aoyu raised his head and roared. I don't know what means he used to make the two mechas in the sky freeze at the same time. Then all four of Aoyu's horns burned with pale flames, and they merged into a point, bursting out a pale beam of light that cut through the sky. Chapter 499 Searching for the Enemy. Pan Yu's mecha immediately evaded the beam, but Aoyu's beam continued to erupt, sweeping across the night sky as its head moved. After a few seconds, the beam expanded into a pale flame. The flame quickly shrank back and finally disappeared between Aoyu's horns. Then Aoyu roared madly, and his four hooves kept stomping on the ground. The ground was cracked and undulated, and countless grasses and ancient trees turned into ashes. Next, Aoyu spread his four hooves and chased Pan Yu. Immediately, two god general mechas guided the overlord beast and pulled it to the designated battle zone. While Jinj City and Jiuying Dragon Rider led Aoyu to the battle zone, the mecha teams of various colleges were searching for the traces of the Black Witch in the mountains and plains. Luo Yan had already joined his college team, and seeing him return, Bei and others were relieved. Next, Bei's college also began to search for the Black Witch. Speaking of searching for prey, Bei's Black Wu naturally had to be mobilized. The principle of Black Wu searching for prey is very simple. This strange thing can appear everywhere in the forbidden area. When it finds the target that Bei is looking for, it will return to Bei and guide Bei to the prey. Luo Yan has described the shape of Lin Yuanfang's mecha, and warned his classmates that it is likely to be a god-level mecha. Therefore, even if you find the Black Witch, don't act rashly. It's better to provide the clues of the Black Witch's trace to Jinjiang, and take the 50 points. No one objected to Luo Yan's proposal. Xiaoping and others are self-aware. With their L-man mecha level, they can't keep the god level mecha. If they attack rashly, they are likely to be defeated by the opponent in one fell swoop. So this proposal was unanimously passed. The next step is a long wait. After all, it takes time for Black Wu to search for the enemy. At the same time, after obtaining Aoyu's beast soul, they plan to evacuate the Black Witches from the forbidden area. Now, they are driving mechas in the jungle. In the cab, Lin Yuanfang of the Black Witch Jiuying division suddenly heard a faint explosion from afar. Looking out from the panoramic window, there was a faint fire in the distance. Under the fire, the silhouette of a giant bull could be seen. In the communication channel, the voice of Sun Ning, the captain of Team 4, rang out. Minister, it seems that Jinja City has already started a war with Aoyu. Then another driver complimented. Minister is still very smart. After we stole the beast soul, Aoyu became very fierce and must have attracted Jinja City and Jiuying Dragon Riders. When they are busy dealing with Aoyu, we have an opportunity to take advantage of the gap and withdraw from the forbidden area. It was too late for the giant beast strategic office to react afterwards. Lin Yuanfang was slightly complacent and then frowned. Zhang Zhu hasn't come to join us yet. Is there something wrong? Sun Ning chuckled. It's impossible, Minister. Zhang Zhu is a high-level realm. It's no problem to deal with a small thief. It's impossible to fail. Lin Yuanfang thought so too. At this moment, a blue-grey mecha suddenly appeared in the jungle ahead without any warning. The mecha probably didn't expect to run into the Black Witch here. There was no reaction either. Lin Yuanfang's heart skipped a beat, thinking that he had run into the Jinja City core, but seeing that there was no sign on the mecha, He was slightly relieved. Then he thought that this might be a mecha from some college. He didn't say a word, and the black mecha, that looked like an ancient general, rushed forward. The two long belts behind him danced, cutting the blue-gray mecha. Suddenly, the mecha of this college was destroyed, and the energy furnace exploded. But the student in the cab had already known the opportunity and left in advance. Although Sun Ning's mechas raised their guns and shot, the student was lucky and escaped. Lin Yuanfang didn't want to waste time, so he didn't let his subordinates chase and kill a student. For him, escorting the beast soul away was the most important thing now. But the student from an unknown college took out a communicator and shouted after falling into the jungle. "It's the Black Witch. It must be them. I ran into a few strange mechas. Come quickly. They're about to run away." A student shouted on the communicator. "Where are you now? Report the coordinates." "Coordinates? The coordinates are I don't know where it is. My mecha exploded. How can I know where it is now? Come and save me quickly. There are cries everywhere. I'm scared." After the student finished speaking, he suddenly heard the sound of the grass shaking. He turned around and saw a figure emerging from the grass not far away. It was a woman with messy hair covered with grass leaves. She staggered over, and when he got closer, the student realized that the woman's body was mostly white bones, and she was a zombie. Then, more and more zombies emerged. The student screamed in fear and climbed up the tree, watching the zombies passing by below, passing through the forest like ants. Just above him, on a branch, stood a black figure. This figure looked like a person wearing a dark cloak. It stood there for a moment, and suddenly disappeared into the air. In the cockpit of the Bian, Luo Yan was dozing with his eyes closed. Then he heard Bei's voice on the communicator. "Got it. Hey Wu Al found it. Everyone follow me." Immediately, the lights of the nearby machines lit up, illuminating Bei's magic machine 8 gates. The machine, like a white dog, rushed into the forest, and the Bian and other mechas immediately followed. This mecha team immediately went deep into the forbidden area, parted the grass, and under the guidance of the strange Hei Wu, went from the other direction of the forbidden area to the location of the Black Witch mecha. From the air, the forbidden area looked like a dense grassland. The Black Witch mecha and the 100 Battles Academy teams were traveling in this grassland. If there were no accidents, they would meet in the northwest corner of the grassland. But accidents often happen when people least want to see them. Probably because of the influence of Aoyi's breath, 2 mid-level behemoths ran desperately in the forbidden area. Soon they ran into the team of Basin Academy, blocking their way. Xiaoping shouted, "Luo Yan, Bei, don't worry about us, catch up. No matter what, you have to earn us 50 points. Lin Wei, Ruohan, follow me. We'll make way for Luo Yan and his team." Xiaoping and Liu Ruohan immediately met a mid-level behemoth. Lin Wei drove the red moth to fight the other one alone. With their attack, a passage was immediately opened for Luo Yan and his team. Subaman and Bian quickly passed through and followed the Black Wu to explore forward. Finally, after more than half an hour, the simple lines of a mecha appeared in Luo Yan's Wuwangzuan. They found the Black Witch mecha. Luo Yan immediately sent out the location coordinates. Soon, the voice of Kyojin of the Golden Arms Corps rang out. "Well done, Luo Yan. I'll go over now. Don't fight the enemy, just keep an eye on them." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 500, The Prodigies Join Forces. This was exactly what Luo Yan wanted. He didn't want to fight a Tangsuan realm cultivator. On that day in the old area of the underground city, he was assassinated by Gale Lin, the former head of the Corps. The old head was in the Tangsuan realm. Luo Yan exchanged a few moves with the other party at that time, and experienced the difficulty of the Tangsuan realm. This is not just as simple as a big realm difference. The important thing is that the cultivators of the Tangsuan realm can condense the Yuanli into Zuanqi. That is a qualitative change and improvement. As a result, there is an extremely difficult gap between the Tangsuan realm and the lower realms. Luo Yan relied on various trump cards, to make Gaolin of the Tangsuan realm injured. Now Lin Yuanfang is driving a mecha that seems to be a god general level. Whether in terms of realm or mecha level, it is far superior to him. It is really thankless to attack Lin Yuanfang. It is better to follow him honestly. So he and Bezhe lay in ambush and observe in secret. Bayan turned on the invisibility, and Luo Yan used the secret method opening the ghost wheel, and turned on the anti-mecha radar jammer. The mecha disappeared in the forbidden area like a ghost. Bei was simpler. She asked Heli Wu to set the 8 gates, and the magic machine disappeared from its shape to its breath. So, Lin Yuanfang and others drove the mecha quickly, but they did not find Luo Yan and the other 2 hiding in the dark. However, as a strong man in the Tangsuan realm, Lin Yuanfang had a keen sense. Although he did not find anything, he felt that he was being watched. To be the head of the Jiuying department, Lin Yuanfang must have 2 brushes. He said in the communication channel, "Stop. There is an abnormality." The voice of the Captain Sunning sounded in the communication channel. "What's wrong, boss?" There were also other mecha masters who said, "The radar shows that everything is normal." Lin Yuanfang snorted and said, "Although the machine is convenient, it will make people dull. I remind you, don't rely on the machine too much. Trust your intuition. And my intuition tells me that we are being watched now." Sunning took a breath. "Minister, what should we do now?" "Use the backup plan." While speaking, Lin Yuanfang controlled the mecha to turn around. In the cockpit of the Bayan, Luo Yan saw that in the dim jungle, the mechs of Lin Yuanfang and others suddenly formed a circle. "I don't know what they are doing." Suddenly, the 4 mechs scattered their things, and it seemed that they were going to disperse and break up. This created a problem. He and Bei were only 2 people, so they could only chase 2 of them. The problem is that when these mechs formed a circle just now, no one knew which mecha had the container containing the beast soul. Too cunning. Luo Yan had a hard time coming up with a good idea for a while. But at this time, on the east and southwest sides of the bushes, a mecha came out. The outer armor of one body was gilded gold, gorgeous and majestic, and was shaped like an ancient warrior, holding a spear. It was the mecha of Xing Feng, a freshman at Cheyenne College. The other one was bright red, like a rising flame, and had a mighty shape, but no one knew who it was. Luo Yan made a prompt decision, and turned on the voice speaker of Bayan. "I'm Luo Yan from Basin Academy. The mechs in front belong to Black Witch. Stop them quickly. The beast soul is in the hands of one of their mechs." This sudden voice made Lin Yuanfang's heart sink suddenly, especially now that Xing Feng and another mecha had emerged. Immediately, a ribbon behind the mecha swept across the place where the sound came from. This gilded ribbon became hard and sharp, and when it swept over, the trees and rocks were cut in half. Bang! When the ribbon swept into the air, the sound of metal clashing rang out. Where there was nothing originally, Bayan appeared, and the mecha was equipped with a large shield of the divine weapon level. It withstood Lin Yuanfang's sweep. Lin Yuanfang did not waste time. After forcing out Luo Yan's body, he drove his mecha, that looked like an ancient general. He rushed to the empty space. But at this moment, a huge figure fell from the sky. It was Xing Feng's gilded mecha. The mecha landed heavily, causing the ground to undulate, and many trees and rocks bounced up from the ground, splashing all around. Xing Feng also used the external speaker to shout, "I'll stop him." Then the mecha rushed forward, and a shot stabbed like thunder, pointing at the head of Lin Yuanfang's mecha. Luo Yan reminded, "Be careful, that's a strong man in the Tangsuan realm. The mecha may be a god general level." In the cab, Lin Yuanfang's heart skipped a beat, wondering how Luo Yan knew his strength so well. He also thought about showing weakness to the enemy first, and then taking advantage of Xing Feng's carelessness to kill him. Now it seems that this plan has failed. Lin Yuanfang shouted through the communicator, "Don't get entangled with these students. Retreat quickly." Sunning and other mechas immediately fled in other directions. The fiery college mecha shouted, "I'm Fu Yan. This belongs to me." It turned out to be a freshman at Jiuying College. Immediately, Fu Yan drove the mecha to stop Sunning. The mecha's long sword danced with flames and immediately entangled Sunning. So the remaining 2 mechas fell into the hands of Luo Yan and Bei. Bei switched the black Wu to the blue Zaro, and suddenly 2 black and blue magic arms stretched out from the void. With a sweep of his hand, he knocked the enemy plane to the ground. Luo Yan first stopped his target with a sword and then looked at Xing Feng. At this time, Lin Yuanfang let the two ribbons of his mecha decompose into countless golden fireflies. The golden fireflies were like a school of fish returning to the sea, madly bombarding Xing Feng. Xing Feng rotated the spear, and the collision with the ribbon fragments made a sound like frying beans in an oil pan. Ding ding dang dang. In a burst of dense noises, the spear and the fireflies collided and produced countless dazzling sparks. Seeing this, Luo Yan suddenly shouted, "Fu Yan, this is for you too." Bayan raised his shield and slapped it, causing the mecha to retreat towards Fu Yan. Fu Yan shouted, "Thank you." That said, this guy did not slack off. The secret method was deployed. Phantom pillars of fire rose all around, the temperature of the space rose rapidly, and countless trees were ignited with a bang, turning into torches. Secret method, scorching purgatory. Fu Yan shouted loudly, and the knife force was deployed, carrying flames, covering the two mechas including Sun Ning. Luo Yan rushed to Xing Feng. At this time, the golden firefly retreated slightly, and after circling around Lin Yuanfang's mecha for a while to accumulate power, with another bang, it turned into a golden angry river, roaring towards Qinziyang. But at this time, Bayan inserted between the two. The big shield Zuanwu was set up, and the 36 layers of energy barriers were fully opened and overlapped in front. Then the supernuclear matrix's energy absorption property was activated. Luo Yan immediately blocked Lin Yuanmang's attack. Xing Feng pulled his hand out and took the opportunity to operate the skills, opening the divine treasure and secret method. This gilded machine was full of momentum, and the war gun pointed to the sky, and the sky above the forbidden land suddenly flashed with lightning and thunder. As the thunder flashed, a series of lightning lights descended and fell on the surroundings. It smashed rocks and split trees. The mecha was reflected like the god of thunder. Secret method, Huang Leiling Du Palace. Chapter 501, Fight. As soon as the secret technique was activated, Xing Feng took the lead. He flashed out from behind Bayan, and the mecha's mobility was greatly increased under the blessing of the secret technique. With flashes of lightning, he circled to the left side of Lin Yuanfang's mecha in the blink of an eye. The spear pointed out. The spear was like a dragon entering the sea, surrounded by thunder and lightning. It brought out a sharp airflow like a knife cutting, and with a bang, it fell on Lin Yuanfang's mecha. Lin Yuanfang's mecha shook, and finally took back the fireflies in the sky, and separated a part of it to hit Xing Feng's gilded body. With Xing Feng sharing the pressure, Luo Yan also took the opportunity to burst out his Yuanli. The air around the body became hot, as if the day had come early, and the scorching sun was already in the sky. Then the body of Bayan reflected red light, and a group of rich blood light spread with a whoosh. It quickly enveloped and submerged the surrounding land, and then the ground surged with illusory blood, making this jungle seem like a pool of blood. Looking at the mecha again, it seems that thick blood plasma is flowing down the white and black striped body of the Bayan. This makes the mecha look like a ghost god walking out of hell. Secret method, Blood Pagoda. Luo Yan and Xing Feng both used secret methods. The Huang Leiling Du Gong flashed with lightning, and the Blood Pagoda was filled with murderous aura. Under the reflection of the two, the thunder and blood prison made this space look like a demonic domain. Although Lin Yuanfang's realm was higher than both of them, he felt a little pressure at this time. He frowned. Are all the kids nowadays so amazing? That being said, he also activated his own skills and burst out his Yuan power. He planned to fight quickly. Immediately, he activated the mysterious patterns on the sweeping armor with Zuan Qi. In this way, Lin Yuanfang's arrogance soared to the sky, releasing a terrifying pressure, and Luo Yan and Xing Feng both gritted their teeth and changed color. The black mecha, that looked like an ancient general, reached into the sky full of fireflies with both hands, and grabbed a handful. The countless gilded fragments made of silk ribbons combined together, and formed a pair of golden swords in the hands of Lin Yuanfang's mecha. Lin Yuanmang shouted, and the air roared, and the mecha rushed forward. Xing Feng retreated to Luo Yan's side. Both mechas lowered their center of gravity, and rushed forward at the same time. They all knew that, if they couldn't stop Lin Yuanfang at this time, he would escape. Immediately, both Luo Yan and Xing Feng burst out with all their strength. All the energy nodes on the Bajian mecha lit up, and the energy furnace roared, and the power was fully turned on. The mecha waved the long sword, and the sword's momentum was as ethereal as the misty rain in the south of the Yangtze River, covering Lin Yuanfang. Secret skill, Yishu Fengan. Qin Feng also used some kind of secret skill, and the long spear shook out thousands of gun shadows, and each gun shadow caused a thunder. The momentum was terrifying, and the attack was tough. Facing the unique skills used by Luo Yan and the others, Lin Yuanfang snorted. The two swords danced with a ball of brilliance, and it was unknown whether it was a combat skill or a unique skill. But the momentum was only above Luo Yan and Qin Feng. The three mechas crossed each other in an instant. The continuous sword force of Yishu Feng Yan, that was like a spring breeze and rain, moistening things silently, was all picked up. Then the thousands of blood swords that surged out of the blood pool were also cut off by the golden light. Lin Yuanfang also slashed a sword and rushed towards the head of the Bian. Fortunately, Luo Yan set up a large shield in time, and the dozens of layers of energy barriers were shattered by Lin Yuanfang's sword. He was also slashed back by the sword, and the mecha didn't know how many rocks and trees it crushed before it stopped. On the other side, Qin Feng was not having a good time either. His crazy and extreme spear force took a fierce path, with the momentum of dying if he didn't succeed. Therefore, Lin Yuanfang's sword force was forced to reverse, and the lightning immediately gushed back, and the gun force was split by a sword. Finally, Lin Yuanfang slashed the shoulder of the gilded mecha with a sword, and Qin Feng took a half step back at the critical moment. This did not allow Lin Yuanfang to cut off the arm of the mecha with the sword, but it still caused the armor to crack, and electric fire to spurt. Lin Yuanfang did not stop, after forcing Luo Yan and the other mecha away. The two swords in his hands decomposed again, and billions of golden fireflies whistled and gathered behind the mecha. However, they did not form a ribbon, but combined into a pair of large wings. The golden wings fluttered, generating a strange force, allowing the mecha to fly into the sky. Lin Yuanfang no longer cared whether this move would be too ostentatious, and just wanted to leave the forbidden area as soon as possible. Seeing this, Luo Yan immediately turned on all the jets. Be Kind squatted down, and then the mecha jumped up, while the 8 jets on his body simultaneously sprayed blue flames. The huge driving force made Bian rush into the air, and he reached out and grabbed the left foot of Lin Yuanfang's mecha. The ghost is still here. Lin Yuanfang gritted his teeth, controlled the other foot of the mecha, and kicked Bian hard. Luo Yan raised his shield to resist, and then the center of gravity of the mecha dropped, pulling the enemy plane that had not yet flown into the sky. Fell down hard. Boom. A wave of stones exploded on the ground. Lin Yuanfang's black mecha fell to the ground, shaking up a stream of stones. But the Black Witch Minister was not panicked, and the mecha turned its waist and swept across with one foot. It hit Bian's head, and Luo Yan in the cockpit also saw stars. The mecha let go and fell, rolling to the back. At this time, Qin Feng had already caught up, and the warrior-shaped gilded body made a leap and flipped over Bian. Then he rolled on the grass and jumped up. Then the gun came out like a dragon, drawing thunder and lightning, attacking Lin Yuanfang. Lin Yuanfang was anxious to retreat, but Qin Feng's offensive was fierce, and every gun was only for attack and not defense. He didn't want to fight a student to a draw, so he didn't dare to ignore it, so he could only use his killer move to blast Qin Feng back. Qin Feng just retreated, and in the cab, Lin Yuanfang saw a red rainbow rushing in front of the panoramic window at a high speed. He didn't intend to let him catch his breath at all. Facing Luo Yan's long rainbow, Lin Yuanfang roared, and the big wings behind the mecha swept, sweeping out countless golden fireflies. They collided with the red rainbow and tore it apart. Just as the red rainbow was torn apart, a blood blade came from behind, seizing the gap. When the fireflies scattered, it hit the mecha. The collision caused the mecha to vibrate violently and retreated 2 steps. Lin Yuanfang's ears were buzzing. Just as Luo Yan and Qin Feng were desperately trying to entangle the head of the Black Witch Jiuying tribe. In an academy camp in the safe zone, the students who did not drive the mechas were busy with other things. Suddenly, zombies rushed out from the jungle outside the camp. These corpses driven by AOE finally came to the safe zone. A student was suddenly pounced on by 2 zombies and was startled. He was knocked down before he could do anything, and the strong stench of the zombies almost made him faint. The student screamed and quickly operated his skills and burst out his energy. He pushed the zombies away with force, blocked a rifle, and fired at the zombies. But even if their heads were blown up, the zombies still did not stop. Driven by Aoyi's strange skills, as long as their bodies are not broken apart, they can keep moving. Chapter 502, Critical Situation. Zombies. Zombies are coming. The student fired and retreated. Fortunately, it was unknown how long these corpses had been dead. After being shot by rifles, their hands and feet were broken. But even so, they were still crawling on the ground, with great resentment and obsession. They crawled towards the living little by little. The alarm sounded immediately in the camp of the academy, and students rushed out of the tents. Some used machine guns to shoot, and some used mysterious arts to deal with them. Because of the new tasks issued by the jury before, not only did the main combat team of the academy leave, but even the reserve mechs were put into the search queue. This left the camp without mechs, so that they faced the zombies that were pouring in like a tide. The students, who were outnumbered, were killed and retreated step by step. And this situation was not accidental. In addition to this academy, the camps of other academies were also affected. In the dangerous area of the Forbidden Land, while guiding Aoyi to the designated battlefield, Pan Yu found that the giant beast suddenly stopped in the cab. At the designated battlefield, Jin Jechun had set up a trap that could be used to trap Aoyi. But at this time, seeing that the battlefield was about to arrive, the giant beast stopped moving forward. Ao also swung its head like an old man, looked at a certain place in the forbidden area, and then roared. After this roar, its anti-membrane expanded rapidly, as if it had invaded the safe zone. When the anti-membrane covered every blade of grass and tree in the forbidden area, the temperature within the anti-membrane range dropped sharply. Even those mechs covered by the anti-membrane quickly began to frost. The students in the cab desperately used their energy to fight against it, but even so, those students who were only at the intermediate level still had their lips frozen purple. Pan Yu shouted through the communicator, "Something is wrong, brother. Ao is not moving either. It has also spread its anti-membrane. If the anti-membrane enters the safe zone and affects the camps of various colleges, many people will be frozen to death by the low temperature in the anti-membrane." Pan Crossing launched the attack silently, but this time, Ao did not pay attention to the harassment of the mecha. Instead, he took big steps and moved towards the safe zone. Its movements were very slow, but its steps were very large, so when it moved, it was actually not slow at all. As Aoyi moved, the range of the anti-membrane of the Overlord Beast was constantly extending. The grey-white light curtain expanded rapidly, swallowing up the jungle and the land. At this speed, it will not take long to break through the danger zone and enter the safe area. In the command hall of the surface base of Jinj City, the Corps Commander Kyojin stood on the command bridge, looking at the rapidly expanding grey-white bubble in the forbidden area on the big screen. Next to the anti-membrane of this giant beast, a set of numbers was displayed. It was marked that in 20 minutes, Aoyi's anti-membrane will completely cover the entire safe area. On another screen, there was a picture of Pan Yu and his sister fighting with Aoyi. "What's the situation now?" Kyojin asked loudly. At present, he is in contact with Pan Crossing and Pan Yu. "No, Captain Kyojin." Pan Yu's anxious voice rang out. "Aoyi ignored us. Let us harass it in every way. It didn't even look at us." Pan Crossing said in a deep voice, "If we don't stop it, the anti-membrane will enter the safe zone." A staff officer looked at the Corps Commander on the bridge. Aoi's anti-membrane carries a cold poison, and everything within the range of the anti-membrane is frozen. Ordinary people wearing warm clothes can't stay in the anti-membrane space for even 1 minute. Cultivators will be better, but low and middle level cultivators can only hold on for a few minutes longer. Advanced cultivators can still resist and retain their mobility, however, according to the advancement speed of the anti-membrane. Even for advanced cultivators, unless they are in a mecha, it is difficult to escape from the anti-membrane before they are frozen to death. Another person said. In addition, those creatures that were frozen to death will be driven by Aoyi's ability to control corpses after death. Thus, they will become one of the thousands of zombies. Through this method, Aoyi can quickly increase the number of his zombies. Jiuying's eyes were deep. The students of the 18th Academy of the Northern Territory are now in the forbidden area. If these students are harmed, we will lose a large number of talents. Pilot Pan crossing. Pilot Pan Yu. Please attack Aoyi's legs and try to paralyze its mobility. See if you can stop the anti-membrane from continuing to expand. If it really reaches a point where there is no other way, then we can only kill it. Even if we lose a piece of Jiuying grass field, we can't let all the students of the 18th Academy of the Northern Territory die here. In that case, we are all sinners. On the screen, Pan Crossing and his sister nodded. Jiuying continued. Student Luo Yan sent back the coordinates. Do you know which dragon rider rushed to support him? A staff officer quickly replied. It was Captain Luo of Xing. It was him? Jiuying was a little surprised. It turned out to be a dragon rider captain level figure. In this case, we should be able to retrieve the beast soul before the anti-membrane covers the safe zone. As they spoke, Pan Crossing and his sister had already started attacking Aoyi's legs, trying to paralyze the beast's mobility. In the forbidden area, Pan Crossing used a secret method, and the purple mecha suddenly blazed brightly and burst into illusory flames. Then a large flag behind the mecha unfolded, and the flag quickly turned into a turbid light. As the light rose, it released a terrifying and murderous aura. The light turned into the phantom of a ferocious beast, which had mixed light and flickered with sparks. It merged with the mecha, emitting an amazing heat, offsetting the cold aura in the anti-membrane space. Then the mecha crashed into Aoyi's left forelimb. Boom. The forelimbs of the overlord beast covered by long hair were hit by the mecha and slipped, and the body of the beast tilted. It fell heavily to the ground, crushing a large area of trees and rocks, and could not get up for a while. Pan Crossing just breathed a sigh of relief, and then saw the beast on the ground. Finally looked over, and then from the four curved horns, a pale beam of light that pierced the sky was blasted out. Pan Crossing hurriedly drove the mecha to dodge, but the beast took the opportunity to climb up again. Pan Yu was not idle either, and her body burst into a ball of red flames. Tens of thousands of butterflies flew out of the flames, and these red butterflies flapped their wings. One by one, they flew towards Aoyi and landed on his four hooves. Aoyi's hair suddenly gushed out a group of white breaths, which blew through the red butterflies. The red butterflies faded one by one, turned into sparks of crystal fireflies, and then floated away. But some butterflies still bloomed with fire, and wisps of scarlet flames rose. These flames gathered into a storm, and in this high temperature storm of flames, Aoyi let out a wounded roar. Pan Crossing and his sister tried to stop the giant beast from moving forward, but Aoyi kept rushing forward again and again, causing the range of the anti-membrane to cross the danger zone, enter the safe zone, and begin to invade a college camp. Chapter 503, Sorrowful Hell. In the forbidden area, facing the attacks of Pan Crossing and Pan Yu, Aoyi raised his head, and from that old man-like face, a gloomy and terrifying murmur came out. It was like reciting some kind of scripture, and it seemed to speak a language that did not belong to this world. Along with this murmur, the surrounding trees all shook and trembled. The color of the trees suddenly turned black, and a viscous liquid like oil flowed on the surface, emitting a rotten smell. Large areas of trees were stained with black, flowing with thick liquid, and became weird. Then, eyes rolled out from the black liquid flowing on the tree trunks, and these eyeballs all emitted a bloody light, revealing an extremely deep evil spirit. The branches on the trees began to grow, soften, and turned into something like tentacles. And toothless mouths grew on the branches, and various cries came out from them. At this moment, the whole Valley of Sorrow was crying, as if hell was open at this time, and all the ghosts were wailing in unison. The two dragon riders and the cab all felt a chill on their backs. This cry was 10,000 times more terrifying than the weeping in the forbidden land of Bingli, and the strange power released was also quite strong. Immediately, Pan Crossing and his sister were both frustrated, as if some sad past was aroused at this moment, and they wanted to cry bitterly. Don't listen to those cries. Pan Crossing shouted, and raised a big flag, releasing countless illusory beasts from it. Like a torrent, it rushed upwards, and bit the giant beast. Pan Yu also released countless fireballs, which fell to the woods below like a meteor shower, bombarding those strange trees. The giant beast and the strange tree were attacked. The former once again burst out pale beams between the corners, sweeping the mecha. The latter, the strange trees all stretched out tentacles like branches. Thousands of branches rose into the air, intertwined and gathered, like a net woven into the sky and the earth, trying to control the two mechas. At this time, Aoyi's anti-membrane had already invaded an academy camp. Suddenly, the light in the camp suddenly turned pale. Everyone in the camp felt a chill all over their bodies, exhaling white air, and frost quickly climbed up their clothes. A teacher hurriedly shouted, "Go! Get out of here! Aoyi's anti-membrane is spreading." He used his own power to resist the pervasive cold breath, and at the same time shouted, "Hurry up and practice your power to keep warm. Those who don't know how to practice should leave quickly. Don't take anything. Your life is at stake." Immediately, everyone in the camp ran to the parking lot. While running, some students with low cultivation levels stopped walking. They didn't move. Their eyes were empty, and they were no longer breathing. They were directly frozen to death in the anti-membrane. And those who were still able to resist heard the crying coming from the depths of the forbidden area. Then, one by one, they remembered their own sad stories for no reason. Some girls burst into tears. It would have been better if they didn't cry, but once they cried, they lost their energy and forgot to practice their power. The cold air immediately entered their bodies, freezing their blood, causing several girls to freeze to death in the camp. After a while, the frozen students suddenly started to move again. They moved slowly, and the frost on their clothes fell off. Then they walked towards the living mechanically, making incomprehensible sounds. These corpses had been brought back to life by Aoyi and turned into zombies. When a convoy rushed out of the camp and broke out of the range of the anti-membrane, the teacher in charge counted the number of people and his face suddenly became solemn. In the entire camp, except for the students who drove the mechs, at least half of the remaining personnel stayed in the camp forever. And incidents like this began to happen in other camps. On the other side of the danger zone, Lin Yuanfang, who was eager to evacuate, ran into two difficult students, Luo Yan and Xing Feng. At this moment, the mecha he was driving was controlled by the bodies of Bayan and Xing Feng on the left and right. Bayan locked Lin Yuanfang's left side, and Xing Feng fixed his right side. Lin Yuanfang's mecha could not move. "It's endless, isn't it? Don't be so presumptuous," Lin Yuanfang shouted, and his Yuan force burst out. The two long gilded ribbons turned into more than 10,000 fireflies. Like flying sand and rocks, they kept hitting the mechas of Bayan and Xing Feng. The two mechas were like being in a storm, and their bodies were hit by countless golden fragments, leaving traces and colliding with countless sparks. In the cockpit, Luo Yang had completely activated the transformation into a dragon posture. His whole body was covered with dragon scales, the whites of his eyes were dyed black, and his original red eyes now emitted a dazzling red light. This made Luo Yan look like a human-shaped beast, emitting a monstrous fierce flame. Suddenly, Bayan hugged him tighter. Lin Yuanfang roared, and those golden fragments like swimming fish combined to form golden silk threads. They suddenly drilled into Bayan's shoulders, broke through the outer armor, and kept drilling inside, piercing and crushing the components and parts in the shoulder. Then it broke out from the back of the mecha. Luo Yang couldn't help but groan. The empathy system made him feel the same as the mecha. Even in the dragon transformation posture, he still felt a burning pain in his shoulders and back. At this time, the silk threads that pierced the body did not come out. Instead, they suddenly spread and expanded, bursting the body of the Bayan, causing one arm and shoulder to fall heavily to the ground. On the other side, Xing Feng saw that those silk threads like iron wire worms were so powerful. Seeing some silk threads coming towards him, he felt a chill in his heart and subconsciously let go and retreated. The Bayan was injured, and Xing Feng retreated. Lin Yuanfang breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that he had finally gotten rid of these two difficult students. But unexpectedly, his left body was still locked. In the cab, Luo Yan, who was injured, had red light in his eyes. The amber light emanating from his body had condensed into the phantom of a lizard dragon. The lizard dragon roared at the black machine outside the panoramic window, erupting with indescribable violence and murderous intent. It was as if a flame was burning in Luo Yan's chest. At this moment, he had forgotten the gap between himself and Lin Yuanfang. He only had one thought left: nail Lin Yuanfang to death. Bian suddenly stuck to the back of Lin Yuanfang's machine, and when the two machines were back to back, Bian stretched out the remaining arm behind and grabbed the chin of the opposite mecha. Then he suddenly bent down and lifted up Lin Yuanfang's machine. Then he used one arm to grab the chin of the opposite mecha and smashed it to the ground. "You bastard!" In the cab, Lin Yuanfang looked out of the panoramic window. He saw his side quickly looking up, and then he saw the sky that was gradually turning pale. Then the sky spun, and the body shook violently. When he came to his senses, he realized that his mecha had caused Luo Yan to fall head first. Luo Yan was about to pounce and continue the attack, but outside the panoramic window, there were golden lights flickering. It was Lin Yuanfang who controlled those golden threads, dancing wildly, first forcing Luo Yan away, then twisting them into a strand. It turned into a golden long whip. It whipped hard on the body of the Bian, and the mecha driven by Luo Yan was whipped away. Chapter 504, Operation completed. In the cab, blood was dripping from Luo Yan's eyes and nostrils. His chest was numb, and he suspected that, if he hadn't been protected by the dragon transformation posture, this blow alone would probably cause internal bleeding. Looking at the mecha damage report on the command console, it showed that the mecha's chest armor had been damaged. The damage rate reached 59%, and the engine and energy furnace were damaged to varying degrees. The overall performance of the body decreased by 43%. Looking at these data, Luo Yan was about to control the mecha to climb up again, and then he saw Lin Yuanfang's mecha raised his hand and pushed. The gilded long whip flashed, and several silk threads split from the front. These silk threads shot through, penetrated the mecha, and fixed the Bian at the foot of the mountain. Then the front end of the whip stretched, became sharp, turned into a spear, and shot towards the panoramic window. Luo Yan's pupils shrank slightly, seeing that the spear was about to nail into the panoramic window, stab into the cab, and nail him to death on the spot. At this time, a beam of green light swept across and hit the golden spear, deflecting it. The golden spear shot into the rock next to the Bian, almost disappearing in the handle, and then retracted in a flash under Lin Yuanfang's control. It turned into two gilded silk ribbons again, swimming like snakes around the arms and waist of the mecha. Luo Yan then looked through the panoramic window and saw a green spear. Looking up along the spear, he saw a mecha. This mecha was like a centaur, with brown vertical stripes on it, shaped like tiger stripes. Behind the mecha, a pair of large green wings were slowly folding up. The humanoid upper body was covered with armor, and the head was wearing a silver armor with mysterious symbols on it. Luo Yan was stunned. He recognized this mecha. Divine Machine, Ying's. The driver was the captain of the Dragon Riders, Xing Feng. Luo Yan was very surprised. After all, Kyojin had said that he would come before, but he didn't expect that the one who came was the captain of the Dragon Riders. "Are you okay?" The voice of the Divine Machine Ying's sounded from the external speaker, and Luo's voice came from it. Seeing Bian shaking his head, Ying's turned around. Then the four hooves galloped, and the mecha rushed towards Lin Yuanfang like a general riding a galloping horse. Lin Yuanfang was extremely nervous. Although he had never seen Luo, he knew what this strange looking mecha was. Divine Machine. The machine named after the god. The performance of other machines is as different as the difference between heaven and earth. Lin Yuanfang looked solemn, and the two gilded silk ribbons had already turned into countless golden streams, constantly wandering on the machine. Then it burst out with all its strength, and countless golden lights burst out and bloomed like a kaleidoscope. It turned into a brilliant golden river of light, trying to drown Ying's. Ying's stabbed with a spear, and a green light burst out. Piercing into the golden river of light, it easily tore the river of light apart. I saw a green rainbow flowing against the golden river. In an instant, it passed by Lin Yuanfang's machine. The dark machine shook violently, and then its head flew into the air. In the sky, which was already as white as a fish belly, an escape pod suddenly shot out from the head of the mecha. It quickly fell to the far side of the forbidden area. At this time, a piece of jade on Ying's forehead lit up, and then shot out a green light. The green light swept across the sky and hit the escape pod. The escape pod exploded, and a fireball was blown out. In the fireball, Countless fragments splashed down, and it was unknown whether the driver was alive or dead. But at this time, Luo Yan was completely stunned. Although he knew that it was not easy to be the captain of the Dragon Riders, he also saw Shibi Luo driving the magic machine and killing people in the body of the Sangmentia. But now seeing Ying Zhao easily kill a god-level mecha, Luo Yan still felt like he was dreaming. He knew that this was not all of Ying Zhao's strength. If it was a strong man like Di Zheng, he could still leave Luo Yan with a chasing back. Shibi Luo, who was driving Ying Zhao, was like a blurry silhouette on the peak. Luo Yan felt that he could never catch up. The gap between him and Shibi Luo was so big that it was hard to measure. "You did a good job." Shibi Luo's voice sounded, and he said this to Luo Yan and Xing Feng. "It can entangle a general level machine. You did a great job." As he spoke, Ying Zhao came over and pulled Bayan up from the ground. Luo Yan reacted at this time and shouted, "The beast soul should be in a containment chamber on the chest of that mecha." Ying Zhao used the green spear to pick open the armor of the mecha, and sure enough, the container containing the beast soul was inside. At that moment, Ying Zhao's green spear flashed and picked open the container. Suddenly, a white breath rose from the container. Then a ghost looked blankly out of it, and then the ghosts in the container gushed out. Countless pale illusory figures sprayed from the container into the sky like a volcanic eruption. Then it spread out like a huge white cloud. The white things surged and spread in all directions. They were illusory and had no substance and passed through one mecha after another. In the cockpit of Bayan, Luo Yan saw the ghosts coming in one by one with a blank expression. After a slight pause, he went forward. But at this moment, the shadow of the lizard dragon behind him suddenly pounced on a ghost, then opened his mouth and swallowed the ghost. Luo Yan was stunned, watching the lizard dragon constantly pounce on the ghosts, and even felt that this was too slow, so he split half of his body into dozens of amber light bands. The front end of each light band turned into a mouth and opened its mouth to bite the ghosts that entered the cockpit. So the group of ghosts that passed by Bayan were swallowed by the lizard dragon. There were so many ghosts that when the lizard dragon seemed to be full and dispersed into a light band and shrank into Luo Yan's body, it was not clear that they had decreased much. These ghosts that had left the container gradually disappeared. After a moment, there was no ghost left at the scene. At the same time, on the other side of the forbidden area, when the Pan-crossing brothers and sisters had already decided to kill Aoyi, they saw white shadows suddenly emerge from the surrounding grass and trees. Ghosts. These things swayed and flickered, gathering from all directions. Then they flashed into Aoyi's body, and later, the ghosts were connected into one. From midair, they looked like pale rivers. They quickly shrank into Aoyi's body, and gradually, on the old man's face of the giant beast, the eyes that originally emitted green light turned pale. Aoyi stopped, then looked up at the two mechas in the air, and growled. Then he turned around, and went to the core area slowly but quickly. As Aoyi left, the anti-membrane that had spread into the safe zone, and seemed to cover the entire forbidden area was also shrinking. When the eastern sky lit up, and cast golden light on the forbidden area, Aoyi's anti-membrane had completely disappeared. Jinch City's surface base. In the command room. On the big screen, a spectral signal was moving. After a moment, it entered the core area of the forbidden area and stopped moving. The command room was very quiet until someone said, "Aoyi has returned to the core area." Then the man shouted loudly, "Aoyi has returned to the core area. We succeeded. The battle to seize the beast soul is completed." Suddenly, cheers rang out in the command room. On the bridge, the commander of the Mecha Corps, Kyojin, breathed a sigh of relief. He left the bridge and walked to a window outside. Looking at the sunshine outside, Kyojin smiled and touched a cigarette. After lighting it, he took a deep breath. After a moment, a cloud of smoke slowly drifted out of his mouth. Chapter 505. No body left. It was dawn. A handful of clear water poured down on his head. In an instant, Luo Yan's hair was wet. Crystal clear water drops hung on the tip of his hair and nose, reflecting colorful light in the sun. He had already gotten out of the mecha, and now, the bun was being recovered. It needed to be transported back for repair. but this time it was to take back the beast soul, so Jinj City promised to repair the mecha for free. This saved Luo Yan a lot of money. At this time, there was still a purple bruise on the back of Luo Yan's chest. If he moved a little, he would still feel like a needle, numb and painful. But facing a strong man in the Tangxuan realm, Luo Yan felt very lucky to have only this little injury. At this time, his heart moved. He raised his head and saw Xing Feng from Xianan College standing in front of him. Xing Feng has a classical appearance. If he grows long hair and wears ancient costumes, he will look like an ancient handsome man. No wonder he is so popular. Student Luo Yan. Xing Feng smiled and said, although I'm a little regretful that I can't compete with you on the same stage. However, I'm honored to fight side by side with you this time. The courage and ruthlessness of Luo Yan in the previous battle against Lin Yuanfang flashed through his mind, and he felt inferior. That scene left a very deep impression on him. Qin raised his hand, clenched it into a fist, and said sincerely, I hope I will have the opportunity to ride on the battlefield with you in the future. I think it will be a great pleasure. Luo Yan was stunned for a moment, looking at the other party's fist in front of him. The corners of his mouth rose slightly, and he didn't say anything, but raised his hand and clenched it into a fist. The two fists touched lightly. Student Luo. At this time, Bei ran over. Xing Feng smiled and said goodbye. He came to Luo Yan and looked at Luo Yan, who had unbuttoned his driving suit and exposed his upper body. Bei's face flushed slightly, and then he saw the scars on Luo Yan's body. He couldn't help but cover his mouth and exclaimed softly. Then he realized that these were old injuries, not new ones. At that moment, she felt relieved, but also a little distressed. She didn't know what kind of life Luo Yan had lived in the past to injure himself. Seeing Bei's distressed look, Luo Yan smiled. He pulled on his driver's suit and said, these are all from when we were on the surface before. Don't worry, they have healed long ago. Bei saw a sunken wound on the back of his neck, with teeth marks around it, as if it was bitten by a wild animal. Although the wound healed, it is not difficult to imagine how painful Luo Yan must have been at that time. Bei stretched out her hand, but was afraid of bringing up Luo Yan's unpleasant memories, so she put her hand in the air. Luo Yan looked at her and understood what she was thinking. He grabbed her hand and put it on the back of his neck. This is a wolf tick bite. I had no experience at that time. I was too careless when looking for food, and I didn't notice a wolf tick hiding nearby. As a result, when I found food and got so carried away, that thing bit me from behind. Fortunately, I took precautions at that time, otherwise it would not be as simple as throwing a piece of meat. Since then, I have learned my lesson. Putting her hand on Luo Yan's neck, Bei felt the unevenness on the wound. Listening to Luo Yan's narration, Bei's eyes flickered, and then she seemed to have made up her mind. She raised her hand and pressed it on her lower abdomen. Luo Yan was stunned for a moment and looked at Bei in confusion. Bei said, I got injured when I released weird for the first time. I had no experience at that time and didn't know how to control them. I almost got my stomach ripped open by the blue goblin. If the teacher hadn't been by my side, I would probably have died. But now, although I'm not dead, I dare not wear a swimsuit again. Luo Yan couldn't help but flash across a picture. On Bei's flat lower abdomen, there was a hideous wound. The wound almost tore her lower abdomen open, showing the critical situation at that time. This should be the secret hidden in the girl's heart, but now, she is willing to share it with him. Luo Yan felt a kind of trust, nodded and said, I won't tell anyone else. Bei nodded vigorously. A shadow enveloped them at this time. The two looked up and saw the divine machine eyeing Zhao coming over. Shibi Luo's voice sounded. The mecha pilot who drove the divine general level machine ran away, but the pilots of other machines were captured. We should be able to get some information from them. Thank you for your hard work. The beast soul has been taken back. The actual combat in the forbidden area is over. Go back to the underground city to rest. Then, the wings behind Dying Zhao spread out, and the mecha's horse hoof stepped on the ground. It soared up and turned into a blue meteor, flashing under the blue sky in the morning. It was 2 days later, to return to Jinj City. After returning to the underground city, Luo Yan was taken for examination. Although he himself had said that his injuries were not a problem, he still couldn't stand the insistence of Xiaoping and others. Finally, he stayed in the hospital for half a day and did several examinations. After the doctor confirmed that Luo Yan's injuries did not need to stay in the hospital, Xiaoping and others allowed him to leave the hospital. Student Luo, you are now the treasure of our college. So don't blame us for being long-winded. Besides, your mecha is so damaged, it's so serious, it's normal for us to be worried, don't you think? Listening to Xiaoping and others talking at the same time, Luo Yang could only nod in agreement. In the evening, they were invited to Yeshu College. It was still the auditorium last time. Yeshu College held another banquet tonight, in the form of a buffet, to entertain students who returned from the forbidden area. Wearing a military-style school uniform, Luo Yan unbuttoned the buttons on his collar to make himself eat more comfortably. Student Luo, this is delicious. You try it. That one is not bad either. Bei kept putting food on his plate beside him, as if watching Luo Yan eat was more enjoyable than her own enjoyment. At this time, Luo Yan heard the scholars next to him whispering, I heard that Zhengde College in Pingyao City suffered heavy losses this time. Well, their camp was too close to the danger zone. As a result, when the anti-membrane of the giant beast spread to the safe area, they were the first to find them. At that time, only half of the people from Zhengde College escaped. Later, they went back to retrieve the bodies of the dead, but they couldn't even find the nameplates, let alone the bodies. It was too tragic. There is no way. After Aoyi left, the zombies in the forbidden area also retreated. All the dead people turned into zombies, so they naturally left. It's a pity that the dead this time couldn't even find their bones. They could only send an empty urn back. Alas, no bones left. How sad it must be for the family of the deceased. Luo Yang couldn't help but feel a little heavy, so that the food in his mouth was no longer delicious. Bei heard it. The girl lowered her hat and whispered, it turns out that Zhengde College suffered such heavy losses. No wonder they didn't attend tonight. If it were me, I wouldn't be in the mood to attend the banquet either. Chapter 506, College Rankings. As the students were sighing for Zhengde College, a march sounded in the auditorium. Luo Yan and others naturally looked towards the big stage. At the same time, the lights in the auditorium dimmed, and another beam of light fell on the stage. Song Mushing, the vice president of Yeshu College, walked onto the stage. As soon as he came onto the stage, the music stopped. Song Mushing looked around with a smile, and then said with full enthusiasm, first of all, fellow students, I'm very happy to announce that this year's BD 18th college sports meet has ended successfully as of today. Suddenly, applause rang out. After the applause rang for a while, Song Mushing raised his hand. The applause gradually subsided. After the auditorium returned to silence, Song Mushing said with a serious expression, however, there was a little accident during this big sports event. A mysterious organization sneaked into the forbidden area and stole the beast soul, causing the overlord beast to run wild. Although in the end, we successfully took back the beast soul. However, Zhengde College in Pingyao Underground City lost half of its teachers and students because of this incident. Now, Zhengde College has returned to the underground city ahead of schedule. I feel their grief. So here, I propose, let's all observe a 5-minute silence for the victims of Zhengde College. After that, the lights on the stage turned from bright to dim. The dim auditorium was filled with a faint sadness. In such an atmosphere, let alone continuing to eat, some female voices were choked and sobbed. Luo Yan put down his things, closed his eyes, and observed a moment of silence for the victims. At this time, in the dark, he felt that a slightly cool little hand was holding his hand. Luo Yan didn't need to open his eyes to know that it was Bei. In the dark, he felt a girl leaning gently on his arm. Luo Yan naturally, in the darkness, gently held Bei's hand. The two hands were clasped together. The young hearts also quietly narrowed the distance. After 5 minutes, the light on the stage became bright again. Song Mushing gently wiped the corners of his eyes with a handkerchief, and then smiled again. Okay, next. I'd like to take this opportunity to announce the rankings of each college in the grand sports meet, as well as the related rewards. Before that, let me first talk about the special mission issued at the end of the actual combat in the forbidden area. The results of the mission are as follows. The Basin College was the first to discover the clues of the thief and sent back valid coordinates. Therefore, Basin College received a 50-point reward. And when retrieving the beast soul, Basin College, Cheyenne College, and Jiuying College all participated. At that time, the three colleges divided the work and cooperated, which delayed the enemy and successfully retrieved the beast soul. Although the students of the three colleges only delayed the enemy leader, in order to encourage this spirit of daring to fight, and dare to face strong enemies. After research by the judging panel, it has been decided 200 points will be equally divided among the three colleges. Therefore, after counting the mission points, the judging panel has come up with a new and final college ranking. Song Mushin paused, cleared his throat, and looked at the faces that were eagerly waiting. He did not keep people in suspense anymore. He announced it directly. First of all, let us congratulate Cheyenne College. They won the championship again, and ranked first in the overall ranking of the Grand Sports Games. Applause broke out immediately. Song Mushin did not listen to it, and continued in the applause. Therefore, the Giant Beast Strategic Office has decided to allocate resources to Cheyenne College. On the basis of the original, it will be doubled. The students of Cheyenne College cheered immediately. I hope Cheyenne College will continue to work hard and train more and better mecha masters for mankind. Song Mushin then announced, next, the second place in the overall ranking of the Grand Sports Games will be Basin College and Jiuying College. Yes, they are tied for second place. The resource allocation of the two colleges will be increased by 80% on the basis of the original. Suddenly, Luo Yan heard Zhao Ping, Zheng Shan and others yelling. Zheng Shan was even more excited to hug Li Bohang. Yang Lixi shouted that he wanted to hug Liu Ruohan, but he stretched out his hand and shrank back awkwardly. Originally, Basin College's points in the Forbidden Area actual combat were ranked 5th, but because of the special mission, after getting more than 100 points, they bravely caught up. Even though they were ranked the same as Jiuying College, this was something that everyone had not expected when they set out to Jinj City. Although they did not win the first place, they were able to get the second place. This was beyond everyone's expectations. In this way, this big sports meeting was also a success. Next, Song Mushin announced the other rankings. The third place was Jiuying College, followed by the fourth place was Yeshu College. Their resources were increased by 50% and 30% respectively on the original basis. As for the fifth place and the following colleges, the resources were all increased by 20%. It can be seen from this that the Giant Beast Strategic Mansion increased its support for various underground city colleges through this big sports meeting. And then, Song Mushin announced a series of amazing news. Starting today, the Giant Beast Strategic Mansion will open the exchange rights of Tangso and Realm skills, unique skills, top grade secrets, and magical equipment to each underground city college. And it has opened up the exchange channel between credits and Strategic Mansion contribution points. In other words, as long as students get enough credits in the academy in the future, they can exchange the above items. This is not difficult to see from another aspect. The surface environment is getting worse and worse. The closure of the Yanfu space is far away, and the number of giant beasts has been increasing. These problems are gradually becoming serious. Therefore, the strategic office is also making changes. Try to train more and stronger mecha divisions to cope with the severe future situation of mankind. After announcing this information, Song Mushin announced that students can move freely. Suddenly, more than a dozen girls from other colleges and universities came towards Luo Yan. Surrounding Luo Yan, these girls are all longer than Bei's legs and bigger than Bei's. Let Bei nervously protect Luo Yan and stop this group of flood beasts. Also on this night, Pingayao Underground City. Since the last murder happened here in the old city has been depressed a lot. Many black factories have temporarily stopped business and rectified. This is not to say that the boss has a conscience, but the murder incident attracted the attention of the underground city, and finally the underground city believed that this was because the black factory squeezed too much. This caused people to rebound, so they asked these factory owners to strictly implement the labor standards of the underground city, improve the treatment of employees in the factory environment. Inspections will be carried out soon. If they fail to pass, the factory must be closed permanently. In this way, the bosses complained bitterly, but they had to stop the rectification. After 2 weeks, the stowaways from outside the underground city had no work to do. Gradually, they walked around the old city. Gradually, a rumor spread silently among the stowaways. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 507 Return. King Iron Alley in the Old City. The name of the alley is elegant, but unfortunately, the winding path, the low walls on both sides and the bumpy road surface do not live up to the name King Iron. It would be more appropriate to call it Wangni Alley. It was late at night and there should be no pedestrians. However, several figures came to King Iron Alley at this time. Under the dim street lights, you can see faces that are not dirty, but not clean. But these faces are still young. One of them is even more immature, with eyes like an elk. Brother Heyo, is it true? Do you think there are really masters living in King Iron Alley? A tall and thin young man asked. A young man in his 20s, who was walking in the front, turned around. What's the benefit of lying to you? I heard it from Leo Zhao in the factory. This expert has red hair and red beard. After being enlightened by him, the person will have endless strength. And, most importantly, he doesn't charge a penny. But you have to be in his eyes. He won't enlighten just anyone. Several young people whispered. It would be great if it were really that magical. If I had endless strength, I wouldn't stay in this broken place. I would go to the city to work as a security guard. Look at your little potential. If you have supernatural power, why don't you recommend yourself to join the corps? The youngest boy with clear eyes whispered. If I become stronger, I can treat my father. Shh. The young man called Heyoje gestured. Don't talk, we're here. In front of them was a small courtyard. The wall only came to the chest of an adult. There were 2 faded door gods on the wooden door. Heyoje knocked on the door 3 times gently. Is Mr. Zeki here? Then he whispered to the people behind him. This name is really difficult to pronounce. At this time, a low voice sounded from inside. Come in. Heyoje winked at everyone and pushed the door open. The small courtyard inside the door was very clean. There was a dim light in the small house in front, and a very tall and burly man could be vaguely seen sitting in the house. Several young people were about to enter the house, but were stopped by Heyoje. Do you know the rules? Only those who are recognized by the gentleman can enter the house. He smiled again and looked into the house. Sir, I brought some friends today. Please take a look. See if they are lucky enough to catch your eye. At this time, the lights in the house flickered. For a moment, the young boy saw a figure reflected on the wall. The hair was fluttering, the long horns were ferocious, and the claws were sharp. It seemed like a non-human creature. But when he looked again, there was only an ordinary figure on the wall. It seemed that I was dazzled just now. Then I heard the man named Zeki in the house say, that little kid. Yes, it's you. Come in. Heyoje was overjoyed, squeezed behind several people, and pulled up the youngest boy. Eiji, you are lucky. You are chosen by the master. Come in quickly. In the envious eyes of other young people, Eiji was excited and expectant, and walked into the house. Heyoje asked again in a low voice. Mr. Zeki, I have found several groups of people for you. Look at me, you come in too. In addition, those who are not selected, don't have to rush. You can look for people in the city, who want to change their own destiny. Bring them here. If you do a good job, I will choose a day to guide you. Just like you and Heyo. Heyoje nodded repeatedly, and then said to the people behind him, did you hear that? Don't be discouraged. Working for the master will naturally be beneficial. You wait here for a while. I'll be back soon. Then he went into the house with Eiji, and closed the door. A moment later, Heyo and Eiji's painful moans were heard in the house, and the young men outside looked at each other in bewilderment. But not long after, the door opened. They saw Yuan Hao and AG come out, both of them with ruddy faces and happy expressions. Especially AG, the boy was originally thin and weak. Now he seemed to have grown a little taller and stronger. Although the change was not particularly big, it was already amazing. Someone immediately asked, "Brother Hao, have you gained divine power?" Yuan Hao did not answer, but looked around, and then walked towards a stone pillar in the corner of the yard. When he came close, he turned back and squinted. "Watch carefully, don't blink." He put his hand on it, shouted, and pressed down. A handprint was actually pressed on the surface of the stone pillar. Wow, it's amazing. Mr. ZHEKUI is so powerful. Yuan Hao quickly asked people to be quiet, and then said, let's go back first." These people left the yard. When they passed a street lamp, the light bulb suddenly flashed and short-circuited. Just as darkness fell, Yuan Hao and AG in the crowd had red light in their eyes. They looked like wild beasts. Guangling, the underground city. When the school bus drove into the underground city, they saw the familiar city below. Luo Yan actually felt like he was home. At this time, he saw that there was a large construction site in the northwest of the underground city. Construction was underway there, and he didn't know what was going on. Li Boheng's voice sounded behind him. "That's the underground train station." Since last year, the 18 cities in the northern border have launched a large-scale underground transportation network project. When this project is completed, the 18 underground cities will be connected. In the future, we will not have to go through the surface to go to any underground city, but take the underground train directly. In addition, this transportation network will have a second and third phase plan. Surface stations will be set up step by step to facilitate our travel to any place on the surface. However, that will have to wait until the surface conditions improve. Otherwise, it will be useless, even if it is opened, and there will not be enough manpower and material resources to maintain it. Luo Yang nodded slightly. Li Boheng was right. If the surface conditions did not improve, even if the station was opened, it would be destroyed by the behemoth at any time. Soon, the school bus returned to the college. When entering the college, Luo Yan found that there were many more people entering and leaving the college than usual. When he arrived at the auditorium, he saw a sign outside with the words "New Student Written Examination Room" written on it. It suddenly occurred to him. It turned out that the school was recruiting new students. Thinking back, when I first came to the academy, I skipped the written test. So I had never experienced such a scene. And now, once school starts, I will be a sophomore. Today is the written test, and next week is the academy test that we have conducted before. Only those who pass the academy test will be admitted. But this year, the visualization technique has been promoted. I wonder if the academy's admission requirements will be relaxed. Li Boheng looked out the window at the auditorium and said thoughtfully. At this time, the school bus stopped, and the door opened. Xiaoping stood up and shouted, "Let's go and empty the principal's treasury." Immediately, all the boys in the car agreed loudly. Chapter 508, Murderous Intent. Basin College, the principal's office. Pan Rinfeng was in a good mood. Jinch City had been getting good news one after another. This year, his college first made it into the top 3 in the competition, and then took second place in the overall ranking of the big sports meeting. Although it was again suppressed by Cheyenne College, Pan Rinfeng couldn't help but sigh. The times are great. At this time, he was trimming the old cat's fur, and suddenly felt a murderous aura. Then the door of the principal's office was opened rudely, and then a series of figures rushed in aggressively. Pan Rinfeng's hand trembled, and the old cat's head suddenly became bald. The cat felt a chill on its head, patted it with its claws, and then meowed, jumped up and slapped the old principal. Then it jumped to the ground with a curse, and jumped to the window, to bask in the sun. Pan Rinfeng saw Xiaoping, and other students rushing in, yelling, "Hello, principal." Then Xiaoping made a gesture, and several boys suddenly pulled open a silk banner. It said second place in the grand sports meet. Following Zheng Shan, he stepped forward, and placed a trophy heavily on the desk. He shouted again, "Principal, please take a look." Pan Rinfeng's old face twitched slightly, and he felt that something was wrong, but he still coughed dryly and stood up. "Yes, you performed very well in the grand sports meet. Feng He told me. Especially Luo Yan and Bei, they are particularly eye-catching. Everyone has worked hard. Tonight, I will ask the canteen to prepare a table of food for everyone to welcome you. You should not be proud, even though you got second place, and put Jiuying under your buttocks. But there is Xianan College above you, and Jiuying next to you. You still need to work harder. Okay, go. Go and have a rest. The old principal reached out to hug the cat, trying to take the opportunity to run away. The cat still hated that the old man had cut its head bald and whimpered a few times and used its claws to repeatedly slap Pan Rinfeng's hand away. Pan Rinfeng took his hand back awkwardly and looked back, seeing that the students had no intention of leaving. The old principal could only cough dryly. I will add credits to everyone later. Don't worry, I won't treat you unfairly. Xiaoping and others exchanged glances and then shouted in unison, reward, reward, reward. Pan Rinfeng's mouth twitched. Looking at this situation, these little bastards are not so easy to get rid of. He wiped his face and raised his hands. He shouted, give it. I will give it to you. The skills, equipment, combat skills, and potions, all are given to you. Okay. Immediately, the students cheered and rushed over, scaring the old cat in the window. Then Pan Rinfeng lifted him up to the students. Long live the principal. May the principal live forever. Shut up. Put me down quickly. Don't throw it away. My old bones are about to fall apart. After leaving the principal's office, Luo Yan returned to his dormitory, put his things away, and Bei came to find him. Student Luo, teacher Wei asked you to go to the training hall. Luo Yan nodded. A moment later, he came to the training hall. When he walked in, he didn't see Wei Fenghe, but he saw Zeng practicing sword. Seeing Luo Yan coming, he threw a wooden sword to him without saying a word. Take it. Luo Yan took it and looked at Zeng inquiringly. Zeng smiled and said, my hands are itching, play with me. Then he rushed forward and took a step forward, and a sword was like thunder, slashing at Luo Yan. Then, the sound of wooden swords colliding rang out in the training hall. The two did not use their energy or any secret fighting skills. They only relied on the strength of their bodies to fight back and forth. After fighting for a while, Zeng raised his sword and knocked Luo Yan's sword away, and the latter raised his hands in surrender. Not bad. Compared to when you first entered the school, you have grown a lot. Zeng put the sword on the weapon rack. How is it? Did you gain anything from this big sports meeting? Luo Yan nodded. Many people flashed through his mind. Zhao Chen and Yang Kui from Yishu College. Li Jun and Fu Yan from Jiuying College. Xing Feng from Xianan College, etc. These people let Luo Yan see a wider world. He hopes to fight side by side with these students in the future and drive away the giant beasts together. Reclaim the homeland where humans live. Young man. It's always good to go out and see more. And your performance in the big sports meeting is remarkable. I believe you have been noticed by the Xiangang Dragon Riders. If you can solve the secondary infection as soon as possible, believe me, you will definitely have a place in the Dragon Riders. Speaking of the secondary infection, Zeng's eyes dimmed slightly. I don't know what he thought of. He reached out and patted Luo Yan on the shoulder. Just do your best and don't think too much. By the way, I heard that the Black Witch organization appeared again this time. Luo Yan nodded. They stole Aoyu's beast soul in the forbidden area. Fortunately, Captain Shibiluo came in time. Finally, the beast soul was taken back. Zeng said in a deep voice, the Black Witch organization is very mysterious. It can even develop the technology to steal beast souls. You sneak into it and act carefully. Don't force yourself. If there is anything wrong, notify me immediately. Feeling Zeng's concern, Luo Yan felt warm in his heart and nodded. Also, remember when I first entered school, you asked me to inquire about the situation of Behemoths City. I just got the news recently that after the giant beast disaster, some residents of Behemoths City were taken in by Pingayao City. Luo Yan's eyes suddenly lit up. Zeng glanced at him and said, if you want to go to Pingayao City to get information, you can find someone. She is a good friend of mine. You can find her, but don't say that I introduced you. Just say it's Feng He. Ahem. Don't mention my name anyway. Then Zeng took out a letter from his pocket and handed it to Luo Yan. Also, when you see her, give this letter to her. Luo Yan took it over. The envelope was marked with the words Yunrang, but there was no signature on the letter. Well, don't give it to her. As soon as you meet, if she asks about me, give it to her. If not, take it back for me. After thinking for a while, Zeng added a few more words. Then he smiled and left. When he walked out of the training hall, Zeng caught a glimpse of Wei Fenghe. The latter smiled and said, "You are trying to trick Luo Yan's kid, right? What trick? Yunrang can't kill him." Zeng smiled and walked forward. Wei Fenghe walked beside him and said, "If you can't let her go, why don't you go to Pingyao yourself? Let Luo Yan go for you." Zeng raised his head, looked at the blooming peach blossoms in the yard, and said softly, "Fenghe, I wonder if I'm getting old. Now I feel the horror of fate more and more. There are so many opportunities in front of me, but I missed them, because of this and that. So I think fate probably exists, right?" He raised his hand, and caught a few peach blossoms falling from the tree. But he couldn't catch a single one. They all slipped through his fingers. PS. Because the writer's backend is being upgraded, the updates on the main site on the 16th and Kimeo Funki on the 17th will be updated in the evening. It will still be updated in the morning after that, so I'll tell you in advance. Chapter 509 Graduation Message. A week passed. In the past week, Luo Yan returned to his previous crazy life of cultivation. During the day, he practiced the Yan Yang Sutra and practiced the two combat skills he got from Zhangzu. At night, he practiced the Huazu Sutra. Of course, compared with the Yan Yang Sutra, Luo Yan did not invest too much energy and resources in this technique, so the overall progress was slower than the Yan Yang Sutra. Even so, it has been more than a month since he started practicing the Yan Yang Sutra. However, it is still early to complete the first level. It is a huge contrast with the rapid progress of the two realms of the primary and intermediate levels. The advanced realm is still like this. The Tangsuan realm must be even more difficult. As for the higher realms, I'm afraid that each level will take years. After a week, there has been some progress in the Yan Yang Sutra and the Huazu Sutra. The two combat skills of chasing the wind and shadow and Yan Pio Yun have also made some progress. The next step is to polish it in actual combat. Luo Yan just wanted to practice that day, so he asked Bei to find him. There are so many people in the auditorium. I heard that today is the freshman entrance exam. Let's go and take a look. Luo Yan nodded. Now that the progress of cultivation is not as fast as before, it is not a big problem to rest for a day or two occasionally. So the two came to the auditorium. The auditorium is already crowded with freshmen preparing to take the entrance exam. Luo Yan and other students who have been promoted to the second grade walked in from another entrance. Standing in the corner with Zheng Shan, Li Boheng and others, watching the auditorium crowded with people. Zheng Shan sighed. "It's so fast. A year has passed in a blink of an eye. A year ago, I was standing here like them, waiting for the entrance exam." Li Boheng raised his glasses and said, "This year, the conditions have been relaxed, and the number of students is obviously much larger than before. I wonder what the entrance exam will be later. By the way, there will be a graduation ceremony for the third graders at noon. Are you going to watch it?" Graduation ceremony? Luo Yan suddenly realized. Third graders such as Iheo and Su Jiu are about to graduate. Second graders such as Liu Ruohan and Xiaoping have been promoted to third grade. They will probably replace Iheo and the others as members of the student union. At this time, the voice of the principal Pan Rinfeng rang out in the auditorium. "Good morning, freshmen. I'm the principal Pan Rinfeng. Next, I will announce the rules for the next college entrance examination. This year's college entrance examination is very simple. You will be divided into groups and enter the mecha simulation cabin later. Don't worry, you are not asked to drive the mecha. It is to let you empathize with the mecha. You don't need to do anything. It's just to test the degree of empathy between you and the mecha. You can pass the test if the empathy rate reaches 60%. How about it? It's very simple. Well, I wish you good luck." Hearing the rules announced by Pan Rinfeng, many sophomores complained. "No way. Is it so simple this year? Last year we had to fight against wolf ticks. I was scared to death. when I saw the giant parasite for the first time. Yes, this year, they just need to sit in the simulation cabin. This is too comfortable. Luo Yan did not complain. He knew that this was done to select mecha masters to the greatest extent. He believed that what was used for testing was only the empathy system of the primary Zhuangji. The requirements for empathy for primary machines are not high to begin with, and the empathy rate of freshmen only needs to be over 60% to pass. That's even simpler. It seems that this year's freshmen will probably be divided into 2 or even 3 classes. When the freshmen began to group, many of them looked at Luo Yan and the others. They are old students in the school. They are looking at us. What are they looking at? Look, there are several of them with proud faces. I don't know what they are proud of. Aren't they enrolled earlier than us? That's right. Now everyone can use visualization. Give me a year, and I guarantee that the parents of these old students won't recognize them. There is also a red-eyed one. Is he infected with red poison? Could he be a stowaway from the surface? How disgusting. He won't infect us with red poison, will he? That senior sister wearing a rabbit hat is so cute. I'll ask her for her phone number later. The auditorium was bustling with people. The freshmen were like newborn calves who were not afraid of tigers, and they looked like they didn't take the old students seriously. Lizzie and other sophomores sneered at this. These little guys take themselves too seriously. Why don't we find an opportunity to teach them a lesson? This is a care from the seniors. I wasn't as stupid as them when I was a freshman, was I? They dared to look down on Luo Yan, not knowing that Luo could kill them all with just one finger. It's not their fault. After all, we are the only ones who know how powerful Luo is. They know nothing. Luo Yan didn't bother with the freshmen. As long as they didn't provoke him, he wouldn't take such gossip to heart. Soon, the freshmen were taken to the college entrance examination. Seeing that there was nothing exciting to watch, Luo Yan and others also dispersed. In the afternoon, on the big playground, the third-year students were wearing school uniforms and lined up in several rows. Like soldiers going to war, they were being inspected. Principal Pan Rinfeng, Dean of Education Wei Fenghe, Tutor Zhaoxi and others all came to the playground. Luo Yan and other second-year students stood beside the playground, under the big tree, looking at the graduates standing upright. After Pan Rinfeng looked around, he looked at the graduates below and said, "Classmates, 3 years have passed. In the blink of an eye, you will step out of the campus. I told you, since I entered the campus. You are the future of mankind. You will change the world. My teachers and I have high hopes for you, and hope that you will do well in the future. Keep working hard, and don't slack off in your practice and study. The heavy frost is all the blood in my heart, sprinkled on the red autumn leaves of thousands of peaks. Your efforts today are sowing seeds for tomorrow's harvest. Classmates, here, on behalf of the college, I wish you all to explore the future and keep moving forward. Drive all the giant beasts off the surface." The graduates shouted, "Drive out the giant beasts and protect my country. Drive out the giant beasts. Protect my country." Hearing this roar, Luo Yan and other second-year students were all excited. It seemed as if a flame was burning in their chests. After a while, Pan Rinfeng smiled and said, "Then, the next is our Basin College tradition. Please enter the second-year students." After speaking, the principal looked at Luo Yan and the others. "Hey, do we have to enter as well? Let's go." Teacher Wei is making hand gestures. A moment later, Luo Yan and other second-year students came to the playground and, under the guidance of the teachers, met the graduates face to face. Pan Rinfeng said with a smile on the stage, "Our college has always had this tradition. Graduates, as seniors, give advice and encouragement to the juniors, so that the purpose of our college, invincible in 100 battles, can be passed down from generation to generation. Now, graduates, if you have anything to say, speak up boldly." Chapter 510 Discipline Committee. Suddenly, the graduates gave their own words of encouragement. Some were serious, like Jiuying. This beautiful girl smiled confidently and said to her juniors, "After we graduate, the academy will rely on you. Don't let other academies look down on us. Warriors should fight for respect. Respect is earned by ourselves. Just like this big sports meeting, you did a great job. You won the second place for us. and also made us third year students proud. You must continue to work hard in the future, and don't slack off. I believe that in the near future, we will gallop on the battlefield together, and drive away the giant beasts together. There were also some unreliable ones. Like a third year student stood up, and pointed at young Lixie. Lixie, don't chase me. Student LIU won't like you. You'd better give up this idea, as soon as possible. It immediately caused a burst of laughter. One graduate after another spoke, and when everyone had almost finished speaking, Hiheo stood up. Looking around, he said in a deep voice, I hope you are mentally prepared. Once you decide to become a mecha master, you must be ready to die in battle at any time. I'm not exaggerating. Now you can live here, in a relatively safe place. It's because someone is fighting for you in the most dangerous places. Yes, I'm talking about the desperate battlefield. This time I finally saw the desperate battlefield, and I'm prepared for the worst. But when I entered the battlefield, I realized that there is no worst, only worse. There are giant beasts active there day and night. There are members of various corps from the north and south cities, and the Xiangang Dragon Riders from the giant beast strategic house. There, the blood and gunpowder never stop for a moment. People die in battle every day. That's the cruelest place I've ever seen. I know that some of you wimps will no longer work as mecha masters after graduation. But for those who decide to become mecha masters, I want to warn you. Don't underestimate the giant beasts. Don't underestimate the Yanfu space. Once you underestimate them, hey, you will die miserably. I'm done. Hiheo retreated to his position. Sujiyu covered her forehead with her hand. Brother, you have to encourage them. I'm not asking you to scare them. If they can be scared by a few words, get out of here as soon as possible. Hiheo's nostrils expanded and he snorted. This is not a bad thing for them. There is no room for these softies to survive on the desperate battlefield. Sujiyu shook his head. Not everyone has to go to the desperate battlefield. You can't go there just because you want to. If you are not elite, the strategic office doesn't want you. How many people are afraid of death if they can become elite? So you are wasting your time. Hiheo found that he couldn't argue with her, so he simply turned his head and looked the other way. Pan Rinfeng smiled and said, okay, thank you graduating classmates. Thank you for your encouragement and support to the younger generations. Tonight, the school will hold a graduation party in the auditorium as a period for your college career. Disband. After the disbandment, Hiheo came to Luoyan. Looking at Luoyan, Hiheo said, I have applied to join the Surface Corps. One day, I will become a Xiangang Dragon Rider. Come up, kid. Don't make me wait too long. Then he left with Sujiyu. Luoyan watched the graduates leave, thinking to himself, 2 years later, he will also leave like these people. What stage will be waiting for him then? At this time, Liu Ruohan came over. Student Luo, are you free this afternoon? Luoyan nodded. Anyway, he had already rested for half a day, so he was not afraid to take the afternoon to rest. Then come to the student union. Liu Ruohan smiled and looked at Bei. Student Bei, come too. Bei nodded. In the afternoon, Luoyan and Bei came to the student union. They found that Li Boheng and Zheng Shan were also there. In addition to the second year students like them, there were also third year students Liu Ruohan, Yang Likai and others. Walking into the student union office, the space was spacious, and a long table was full of people. Liu Ruohan sat at the head, and said with a smile, because the seniors have graduated, I will be the president of the student union next. At the same time, some positions in the student union are vacant. I called everyone here, to invite the second year students, to join the student union. Work together with us to make the student union a success. Yang Likai said with a smile, after you are promoted to the second year, you will no longer be required to take general knowledge classes. Therefore, after the second year, learning will be relatively easy and time can be allocated freely. The school will allow you to devote more time to training and actual combat. So even if you join the student union and take on some duties, it will not take up too much of your time. Xiaoping coughed dryly and said, joining the student union will reward you with fixed credits every month. In addition, there will be discounts and priority in exchanging skills, combat techniques, and potions. and the student union will have its own mecha team, which will simulate the management of the Corps. So when you graduate, whether you enter the Corps or are noticed by the Xiangang Dragon Riders, because of the practical experience of the student union, you will get better promotion opportunities than others. The three of them sang in unison, and soon, Zengshan and others showed great interest in the student union. Luo Yan just listened to the promotion opportunity and passed it by. But he was very interested in the fixed credit rewards, discounts and priority when exchanging items. So he asked, "What positions do we need to be responsible for?" Liu Ruohan looked at him with a faint smile. "Student Luo, Senior Hiheo has been in charge of the discipline committee. This position is mainly responsible for the discipline issues of school students, and is responsible for protection when new students travel and participate in activities such as Forbidden Ground Combat. Senior Hiheo hopes that you can carry his banner. He said that you are the most suitable candidate for the discipline committee. I wonder what you think." Luo Yan didn't have any requirements for what position to take. Now when he heard Liu Ruohan say this, Hiheo's burly figure flashed in his mind. He nodded. "Sure." Bei raised his hand at this time. "Can I also be the discipline committee?" "Of course, no problem." Liu Ruohan said meaningfully. "You and Luo Yan have a good understanding. If you are the discipline committee, I believe there will be no problem with the school's discipline." Xiaoping said, "Let me remind you here that the discipline committee is very annoying. You may be disliked by your classmates, so you can think about it carefully." Luo Yan never took this kind of thing to heart. So he said, "No, that's it. Liu Ruohan made the decision, then it's settled. I will report to the school later and give you law enforcement armbands." Chapter 511, Many Things to Do. When he walked out of the student union, Luo Yan's cell phone rang. It was the rewards for the big sports meeting. Luo Yan received 3 rewards for this big sports meeting. They were credits, potions, and fragments of the primordial stone. Credits and potions were secondary, but the fact that he was rewarded with fragments of the primordial stone really surprised Luo Yan. At the same time, he was sure that the old principal's treasury might have been emptied out by the reward this time. After all, even fragments of the primordial stone were taken out. Next to him, Bei exclaimed. It turned out that she also received a reward for the big sports meeting. Bei's face flushed slightly because of excitement, and she said, "Student Luo, the college rewarded me with a divine weapon level equipment. I was asked to choose it and report it. It will be distributed within a week. This should be the prize for the college competition." This grand prize was indeed allocated to Bei. Luo Yan was also happy for her and suggested, "You don't need offensive equipment. It's best to pick some life-saving or auxiliary equipment." Bei nodded and clenched her fist. "I will choose carefully." In the evening, the graduation party was held in the auditorium, but Luo Yan did not attend. It has been a week since he came back to Guangling. Calculating the time, he had to go back to the Red Gate and show up. So he changed his clothes and put on a mask. At 9 o'clock in the evening, he came to the Jude restaurant. As soon as he entered the quiet room, the fake Taoist Wenzhao greeted him with tea. "Sir, you are finally back. The brothers missed you so much." Wenzhao was so enthusiastic. I don't know if this man still remembered that he was in ale placed by Yukiashu next to the Red Ghost. Anyway, he tried to make himself not so annoying. "Sir, we have completely accepted the people and business of the Black Owl." When Luo Yan started to drink tea, Wenzhao was beside him reporting the situation over the past month. "I dispersed the people of Black Owl and placed them in our city and on the surface. And I sent some people to the Coyote camp. As for the Black Owl business, it has been completely taken over. What has not been dealt with yet is Wan Cheng's family. I dare not make a decision easily on this matter. I still have to leave it to you to deal with." Luo Yan frowned slightly in the mask and asked, "How many family members does he have?" "Not many. Wan Cheng's wife has passed away for a long time. He currently has a second wife, but she and Wan Cheng have no children. Wan Cheng's only son also died at his birthday party. However, Wan Cheng's wife has a younger sister. His sister-in-law is less than 30 years old and is married, but she seems to have some unclear relationship with Wan Cheng in private. That woman runs a small business for Wan Cheng. At present, this family has also been detained by me. Apart from him, There are no other family members. Luo Yang nodded slightly and said, take them to the coyote camp and give them work. As for whether they can survive or not, that's their own business. Okay. Wen Zhao added, in addition, at the previous annual banquet, the leaders of the organizations represented by Uncle Ya. During this period, they have shown goodwill to us and voluntarily paid the investment fees agreed upon before. I also took this money and integrated some of our previous savings from Redgate to invest in the medicinal materials business. Everything was going well, but recently a pharmaceutical company called Wan Zitang went against us. We bought low, and they sold high. We shipped, and they bought all our products. It seems that they are planning to monopolize this business. Luo Yan was stunned. Wan Zitang? He had never heard of it. Yes. Wen Zhao lowered his voice. I asked people from Xing Feng. This pharmaceutical company is related to the Luo family of Kaiming Heavy Industries Group. Maybe this is a chess piece used by the Luo family to target us. Luo Yan narrowed his eyes slightly in the mask. He remembered many things. The former Corps Commander Gaolin came to assassinate him. It should be that the Luo family and Wanqing reached a certain deal. Now the Luo family has supported another pharmaceutical company. It seems that they want to suppress the Red Gate and extend their influence into the old city. Luo family. While Luo Yan was pondering, Wen Zhao said, Master, this Luo family is not like the Black Owl. We must not use knives against them unless we have no choice. I guess Wan Zitang is so arrogant and does things so ostentatiously. It is very likely that they want to provoke us to act rashly and then get our handle. As long as they have the handle, they will report to the authorities. The Luo family can take the opportunity to use their connections and use the power of the official to suppress us, even defeat us. Luo Yang nodded gently. Of course, he knew that the Luo family was different from the big and small gangs in the old city. Luo Xianai was a person who participated in the election of the city lord. If we still use the method of suppressing the gangs in the old city to deal with the Luo family, it is not impossible. But it must be done in one fell swoop. Use thunderous means to eradicate it overnight. Otherwise, the Luo family will use their connections to intervene with the help of official power. At that time, the Red Gate will not face the Luo family, but the Security Bureau. Got it? Don't act rashly for the time being. I'll make a decision after I think about it carefully. Luo Yang plans to consult Dizeng. Luo Xianai once wanted to use the influence of Wanqing to stop Dizeng's national visualization plan. Dizeng must want to deal with him. It's a good time to discuss with him and see how to eradicate the Luo family and put an end to it. Finally, Wen Zhao said carefully, Master, Captain Yukiashu is looking for you recently. She said there is something important to discuss with you. Since you are not here, she asked you to reply to her message after you come back. Yukiashu. What does this woman want to do? Luo Yang nodded gently. Anything else? No. Well, go and invite Mr. Chenefei. After Wen Zhao left, Luo Yan found Yang Tao. I don't know if the little girl is because of her cultivation or because she eats and sleeps well after coming to the underground city. Haven't seen her for a while. She has grown significantly. Seeing Luo Yan, she shouted happily, Teacher, you are back. Luo Yang nodded gently. Have you been slacking off in your practice? Yang Tao shook her head. I follow the plan you gave me every day, and I dare not relax at all. Very good. Come, let me see how you are progressing. Luo Yan gestured for Yang Tao to show her the results of her practice. After a while, Luo Yang nodded slightly. It's already the third level of the elementary level. Although the practice of Yang Shigong progresses rapidly, plus the support of potions. But such rapid progress shows that you have worked hard. I have also mastered 3 moves of 100 Flowers Killing Fist, and I can also skillfully use several more practical mysterious techniques. Not bad. The next step is actual combat. Chapter 512. A sharp sword is forged from grinding. Actual combat? Yang Tao showed an expression of excitement and fear. Luo Yan glanced at her and said, of course I won't let you fight with others right away. If you just keep practicing, you'll be like a nerd who only knows how to read. You're great in theory, but you're dumbfounded when it comes to practice. So next, I'll teach you a secret method first. After you learn it, I'll arrange for you to go to the surface for a period of time. When the time comes, you'll have to do whatever they do." Yang Tao nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Luo Yan reminded her, "I'll pass on the instructions. When you go to the surface, you won't get special treatment just because you're my student. You have to fight for what you want. Don't think I'm unkind." Someone I respect very much once said that a sharp sword is made from grinding, and the fragrance of plum blossoms comes from the bitter cold. He once told me this, and now I'm giving it to you. Yang Tao nodded continuously. Luo Yang continued, "Next, I will teach you the secret method, Kiaolan. Once you use this method, your breath will be completely restrained, which is suitable for stealth and assassination. When you become proficient and have made achievements, I will teach you another secret method, Kiaolan, which is a secret method for bursting, but it has another wonderful use when combined with Kiaolan." After speaking, Luo Yan began to instruct Yang Tao on how to use Yuan Li to impact the acupoints and then activate the secret method. Because of the previous practice, Yang Tao was already familiar with the acupoints all over her body. Now listening to Luo Yan's explanation, she learned very quickly. After Luo Yan patiently explained it several times, Yang Tao was able to use it initially, but she needed practice. Seeing that Chenefei had not come yet, Luo Yan simply taught her the footwork of dragonfly touching water. In this way, after Yang Tao mastered it, the little girl is a practitioner of the primary 3rd level, who has mastered the 100 flowers killing fist, the footwork dragonfly touching water and the secret method Kiaolan. Although her cultivation is still shallow, compared with the people of the same realm, it is obvious that she has learned much more, far beyond the ordinary people of the same realm. After teaching Yang Tao dragonfly skimming the water, Wen Zhao came back, and Luo Yan let the little girl practice on her own. Walking out of the room, Luo Yan said, "Notify Yang Hao, I will send Yang Tao to him later. Let him arrange a job for Yang Tao. Don't give Yang Tao preferential treatment, just because she is my student. But Yang Tao can be injured, not dead." Wen Zhao said worriedly, "Master, Xiao Tao is still young, and she will be bullied when she goes to the surface. Ordinary bullying is okay, it's a good opportunity to hone her. Since she wants to learn from me, she must be prepared. I'm not letting her enjoy it. But if it's that kind of bullying, if it happens under Yang Hao's nose, let him come to see me with his head on his head." Luo Yan said, and didn't continue the topic. Came to the quiet room, and saw Chenefei. He looked much better than before. The sadness between his brows was lessened, his complexion became rosier, and his thin face became a little fuller. He was drinking tea, and when he saw Luo Yan, he stood up quickly. "Mr. Chigi, good evening." "Good evening, Mr. Chen." Luo Yan gestured for him to sit down. Chenefei smiled and said, "Just call me Fei." Luo Yan nodded and looked at Wen Zhao. "Have you arranged Fei's accommodation?" "Yes, and in accordance with your previous instructions. Someone has been arranged to take care of Mr. Fei's daily life." Luo Yan hummed, and then said, "Fei, I will let Liao Guan go with you to purchase the simulation cabin later. As for the teaching location, considering the future practical operation, I plan to arrange it in a surface camp. Don't worry, since we are going to run a school, the defense of that camp will definitely be strengthened. In addition, I will contact Dark Blood and purchase old models of mecha from them. Then they will be assembled in that surface camp. For the time being, we don't have talents in mecha maintenance, but we should be able to borrow a group of people from Dark Blood. I'm considering hiring a group of logistics personnel to purchase mecha parking and maintenance warehouses. Introduce talents in this area, and then arrange for our people to study. When you are teaching, please pay attention to it for me, and decide their future development direction, based on their strengths. In a word, I don't need all students to be mecha masters. I hope that the students you teach can form a complete team. There are mecha masters, maintenance personnel, etc." Chenefei nodded. "Okay, I know what to do." Luo Yan discussed some teaching issues with him again, and after that, he sent him away. As for notifying Liu of the Koyode camp, telling him that the camp will be used as a mecha teaching point, and increasing manpower and strengthening defense, these trivial matters were handed over to the fake Taoist Wen Zhao to handle. After temporarily handling the affairs of the Red Gate, Luo Yan returned to the academy. The next day, just as young Lixi said before, after being promoted to the 2nd grade, although the academy still arranges cultural courses and general knowledge courses, but there is no mandatory requirement for students to attend. Just let everyone choose to take them, and those who are willing to take them can take them, and those who don't want to take them can practice on their own. As a result, when Luo Yan came to the classroom during the day, he saw that there were more than half fewer people than last year. He didn't come to class, but to find someone. Today's class is Gixu's ancient Chinese text class, of course, it is taught. These are just some of the earliest and most common characters found in Gixu. Less than 20 people in the whole class showed interest in this course. However, Lin Wei was one of them. In fact, she had already mastered these characters, but she chose this course out of interest. Luo Yan did not choose it, but the college did not stipulate that students who did not choose it could not attend the class. So he walked in, and the teacher had no objection. Luo Yan sat behind Lin Wei and listened carefully until the break. He whispered, "Can I ask you something?" Lin Wei turned her head and showed Luo Yan a side profile. The sunlight outside the window fell on her body, outlining a light edge on her side face. The small fluff on her earlobe was clearly visible in the sunlight. A hint of curiosity appeared in his cold eyes. "What's the matter?" Lin Wei spoke clearly, but was very frugal with words. "I found some ancient characters similar to Gixu, but I don't know what they mean. Can you help me translate it?" Luo Yan said. Before, in the Battle of Changping City, he found the sword shadow on the lake in the body of the Sky Overlord Kun. There were some words on the sword shadow at that time, and Luo Yan wrote it down. But he never found a chance to ask Lin Wei for advice. Until today, he brought it up. Lin Wei blinked her long eyelashes and said briefly, "Get out of class is over. Let's go to the library." Luo Yan nodded. "Okay." Chapter 513 Your Heartbeat. Library. Luo Yan took a pen and, relying on his strong memory, carefully wrote down the words with complex strokes and strange shapes one by one. After writing, he handed them to Lin Wei. Lin Wei put on a pair of plain glasses, and her eyes were faintly shining on her indifferent face. It seemed that these words attracted Luo Yan's attention. Lin Wei said as she identified them. The characters in Gixu have different levels of difficulty and analysis. The characters you are recording now can be said to be the most difficult to analyze so far. Where did you find it? But before Luo Yan could answer, she said, "You don't have to tell me, I just asked casually. You don't have to tell me, if you don't want to, it doesn't matter." She continued, "I can't translate it here, it will take a little time." "Well, maybe more than a little." Lin Wei narrowed her eyes. "I can't give you an accurate time." Luo Yan said, "It doesn't matter, just tell me, if you find it. I'm not in a hurry." Lin Wei nodded, stood up and said, "Okay, I'll go back to the lab now. If I can't analyze it, do you mind letting my tutor take a look at it?" Luo Yan knew that she was referring to Jiuying, the woman wearing a Qiangsum, glasses, and a look that was 1,000 times colder than Lin Wei. "No problem." After getting this answer, Lin Wei left. When Luo Yan was about to leave, he heard familiar footsteps, and then Bei's voice rang. "Student Luo, I finally found you." Luo Yan turned around and saw Bei putting down an armband. On the red armband, there was a white double sword pattern, and below it were two black words, "Discipline." This was the discipline armband that Liu Ruo had mentioned yesterday. Wearing it, Luo Yan would have the law enforcement power in the school. "Let me help you put it on," Bei asked. Luo Yan did not object and nodded. Bei put the armband on Luo Yan's left arm and fixed it to the sleeve with a paper clip inside. Then she asked casually, "Why are you in the library?" She looked at Lin Wei's seat just now, and there was a cup. Whose cup left without being cleaned up? Luo Yan took a look and said, "It's Lin Wei's." Bei immediately looked at the cup and then asked in a low voice, "You and classmate Lin Wei? I asked her to help me translate something." Luo Yan raised her head and looked at Bei, which made the girl a little flustered. "Ha ha ha. So you're looking for Lin Wei to be your translator?" Luo Yan nodded. "What else?" Bei looked at other places in the library. "No, nothing. I thought. Luo Yan stood up, Thought what? Nothing. Nothing. Bei stepped back in a panic and ended up tripping over a chair and immediately lost her balance. Just as she was about to fall, Luo Yan grabbed her waist. Luo Yan pulled her back with force. So the two of them stuck together. The library was very quiet. In the sunlight, the dust was swirling. Sticking to Luo Yan's strong chest, Bei could clearly hear the powerful heartbeat in his chest. Her face was getting redder and redder, and it seemed that illusory smoke was about to rise above her head, but she was reluctant to leave. But at this moment, Bei's pocket communicator pinned to her collar rang. "Xiao Bei, have you found Luo Yan?" This was Yang Lekei's voice. "Two bastards in class 2, grade 1 are fighting. If you find Luo Yan, go and maintain discipline." The sudden sound made Bei bounce off Luo Yan, as if she had received an electric shock. The girl said in a panic with a red face. "Looking for it, I found it. We'll go now." She then took out a pocket communicator. "Here," classmate Yang said that the discipline committee must wear this. This way, if there is any violation in the school, we can be notified in time. Luo Yan took it and put it on his collar. He glanced at Bei. "Are you okay?" Bei shook his head. Luo Yan was relieved and then left the library. There are many new students enrolled this year, so the college is divided into 3 classes, each with 40 students, a total of 120 people. When Luo Yan and Bei came to class 2, grade 1, 2 boys were fighting in the classroom. A group of students nearby were watching the excitement and cheering. "Come on, Jiuying, punch, punch quickly. Xing Feng, don't be afraid of him, kick him in the lower body." Luo Yan and Bei, the 2 discipline committee members, came to the scene, but the students still did not separate. Bei couldn't help but glance at Luo Yan. Luo Yan said nothing, stretched out his hand, and grabbed the collar of a student who was watching. He threw him casually like throwing away garbage, and the student screamed and flew out. The crowd of onlookers was thrown away by Luo Yan one by one. Soon the students finally realized that someone was interfering, and seeing those classmates who were thrown out by Luo Yan, they didn't dare to provoke them and retreated. Luo Yan came to the scene and saw that the boy's clothes were torn, his hair was messy, and his face was bruised and purple. But he still refused to give up. He still wrestled. Luo Yan walked over without saying a word, pushed his hands left and right, and separated the two. The two still screamed and rushed towards each other again. Luo Yan stretched out his hands to grab them, one in each hand, and held their heads. Then let their heads hit each other. Bang! The collision made them see stars and tears flow from the corners of their eyes. This time, they finally stopped. They squatted on the ground with their foreheads covered, and they were not able to stand up for a moment. Luo Yan then said, "You violated the school rules. Come with us." One of the boys looked up and saw the armband on Luo Yan's hand and jumped up. "The discipline committee is amazing. Do you know who I am? I'm Jiuying, the young master of Wan Zitang. Who do you think you are? How dare you hit me?" Looking at this boy who kept barking like a mad dog, Luo Yan didn't say anything to him. He suddenly grabbed his neck with one hand and lifted his feet off the ground. He squeezed the air out of Jiuying's lungs bit by bit. At the same time, he said, "I don't care who you are. Since you are in the college, you must abide by the school rules. If you violate it, as the discipline committee, I have the power to interfere. If you are not convinced, you are welcome to challenge me. It's up to you to choose between martial arts and death. But if you don't dare, then shut up. This is a warning. You'd better remember my words. Because next time, if you do it again, you can only go to the hospital bed and reflect on it." When the boy named Jiuying's face turned liver colored, his eyes were already rolled up, as if he saw his grandmother waving at him from outside the door. Luo Yan let go. Jiuying fell to the ground. The air rushed into his lungs, causing him to cough non-stop. Luo Yan looked at the man named Xing Feng again. "You too." Xing Feng quickly shouted, "Okay senior." After Luo Yan's red eyes glared at him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 514 New Recruits. Wow, this senior is so scary. Scary? I think he's handsome and cool. You're all looking at the senior. Am I the only one looking at the senior? Don't you think that senior is cute? She's small, looks weak and easy to push down. At this time, the freshman saw the senior, who looked very weak and easy to push down, walked up. She raised her head and said with a smile on her face, "Don't fight in the future." Wow, this senior has a nice voice. She sounds like a clip. So cute. I really want to hug her. When the students were talking about it, suddenly, the air around Bay twisted, and suddenly two black and blue hands with patterns all over them, which were very scary, stretched out. These two arms were twisting on Bay's head, making a crackling sound. Bay opened his eyes at this time, and the veins on his forehead appeared in a well shape. He tried to maintain a smile and said, "Let me see you fighting again in the future. I'll kill you." The air in the classroom suddenly became cold. The real murderer Sora made these freshmen shiver. Xing Feng nodded again and again. "No, we won't fight again." At this time, he saw a ghost hand above Bay's head reaching out and tapping his head with a long, sharp claw. "Well, that's good." Bay retracted the blue mandrill, and a voice in his heart shouted, "It's all your fault, you bastards. Just now in the library, the atmosphere was so good. I wanted to stay a little longer, but you ruined it. I'm so angry." Luo Yan looked back at Xing Feng and the others. "After class, come to our discipline office by yourself. You don't have to come. You will bear the consequences. Let's go." Xiao Bei. Bei well said, and followed Luo Yan away. After they left, a gasp sounded in the classroom. I was scared to death. Who said that the senior sister was cute? This is a Tyrannosaurus Rex in rabbit skin. When she gets angry, she's scarier than that senior. But don't you think she's cute? She looks fierce. Fierce. My fucking head almost got split open just now. This was Xing Feng's voice. At this moment, Jiuying finally stopped coughing. He jumped up, gnashing his teeth, and yelled, "It's just a discipline committee." Before he could finish, someone covered his mouth. "Don't yell. I remember who that senior is. That was the most popular freshman last year, Senior Luo Yan Luo." "What happened to Senior Luo? Haven't you heard? He had a fight with the young master of Kaiming Heavy Industry as soon as he entered the school and defeated Luo Beichan. Then he defeated the nephew of the Minister of Security in the competition. As a result, Senior Luo is still alive and kicking." "What does this mean?" "I don't need to tell you. You, the young master of Gaoang Wan Sitang, compared with Luo Beichan of Kaiming Heavy Industry and the nephew of the Minister of Security. Nothing. I advise you to be more restrained, otherwise, he will crush you to death without frowning." "Wow, is Senior Luo Yan so powerful? I find I'm a little attracted to him." The freshmen chirped like sparrows on the tree, but in a moment, the news that Luo Yan, the discipline committee, suppressed the freshmen of class 2 spread quietly among the first year students. And then it became more and more mysterious. Afternoon. Luo Yan came to the Guangling surface core to report, but now his mecha is undergoing maintenance and upgrades. Reporting is reporting, and he can't go on a mission for the time being. So he just went around the 3rd squad and the 4th team with Bei. He said hello to the captain Yan Wenbo and others in the lounge. After Luo Yan said hello, Kang Shun pulled him and said, "Let's go. There is a ceremony for new recruits to join the corps today. There are a few from your college. Let's go and see together." When they arrived at the corps parade ground, they saw a high platform. Below were several rows of new recruits standing in a square formation. Among those new recruits, Luo Yan saw Hiheo and Su Jiu and others who had already graduated. They also saw Luo Yan. Su Jiu waved vigorously, but Hiheo looked elsewhere. At this time, Zeng, who was still serving as the head of the corps, walked onto the high platform and loudly encouraged the new recruits. Afterwards, the captains of each squad of the 3 squads of the corps entered the field to select people. Whoever was selected, the men would hit their chests, and the women would pat their shoulders. This is the induction ceremony for new recruits. It represents that they are accepted and recognized. Yan Wenbo picked 2 new recruits back, but they were not Hiheo and Su Jiu. These 2 had been to the desperate battlefield, and had been picked by their captain when they were in the reserve. No one would snatch them. After becoming official soldiers of the Corps, Hiheo and the others were no longer in the reserve. They were assigned their own uniforms. With uniforms, they could not dress casually, like they did when they were in the reserve. They had to wear uniforms to enter the Corps headquarters. After the induction ceremony for new recruits, Luo Yan left Bei and went to find Dizeng alone. Although he is the city lord now, Dizeng still spends half a day every day to handle his own affairs in the Corps. So after participating in the induction ceremony for new recruits, he did not leave immediately. So a moment later, Luo Yan met him in the head of the regiment office. Seeing Luo Yan coming alone, Dizeng knew that he had something to say. Clear out the left and right and turn off the surveillance in the room. In this way, there will be no record of his conversation with Luo Yan. Wan Sitang. After listening to Luo Yan's story about Wan Sitang and the Luo family, Dizeng frowned slightly. I haven't heard of it. Luo Yan said, they were recently supported by the Luo family and have specifically targeted our Red Gate. As soon as we ship goods, they buy them all and then sell them at a lower price. This has caused the merchants who originally bought from us to ask us to lower prices or buy directly from Wan Sitang. But no matter how much we lower the price, Wan Sitang will lower it even lower, clearly trying to use low prices to squeeze our living space. And the reason why they are so wealthy should be that they have the support of the Luo family behind them. This is one reason. Secondly, it is possible that the Luo family wants to use the incident of attacking our Red Gate to enter the underground gang territory of the old city. After all, they had contact with the Dark Owl of Wancheng before, and now the Dark Owl has been annexed by us. The Luo family will either support another gang, or they may want to use this incident to suppress our Red Gate and use it as a bargaining chip to get us to the negotiating table. After listening to his analysis, Dizeng nodded and said, this is indeed possible. In fact, I started investigating the Luo family after the Lantern Festival. Luo Xianai is not a clean person. He is just very cautious. The account books of Kaiming Heavy Industry are flawless, so I didn't get a chance for a while. Chapter 515. Reach the sky. Stand on the ground. Is Gaolin still with Luo Xianai? Luo Yan suddenly asked. Dizeng glanced at him, a smile on his face. You could want to kill Luo Xianai directly. Luo Yan said calmly, that's fine. It's a nuisance to keep him anyway. If we kill him directly, the Luo family will be leaderless. It must collapse from within. By then, Kaiming Heavy Industry will no longer be invulnerable. Dizeng shook his head. In fact, I have thought about this a long time ago. I even wanted to do it myself. But after thinking it over again and again, it's still not appropriate. Gaolin is still with Luo Xianai for a reason. Well, in order not to expose a relationship that day, so I just warned Gaolin. If I take action against him, he must suspect whether I have any relationship with the Red Ghost of the Red Gate. If so, he may discover your identity. Luo Yan nodded. Dizeng added, another reason is that I think Luo Xianai has someone else behind him. Otherwise, it would be unwise for him to go against me like this after he lost the election. It doesn't suit his style. So I'm keeping my troops in place to avoid alerting the enemy. Luo Yan frowned. So, shouldn't we ignore the Wan Sitang incident for the time being? No. Dizeng said decisively. I think it's just the opposite. Maybe we can use the Wan Sitang incident to bring down the Luo family and then catch him behind the scenes. Luo Yan was puzzled. Dizeng smiled and said, this matter requires careful planning. Don't provoke Wan Sitang for the time being and pretend to be afraid of them. Let them be proud for a while. When they relax, we may have an opportunity to take advantage of it. In addition, I'll find a few old friends to discuss how to use this matter to do something. Luo Yan nodded. Dizeng continued, I heard from Feng He that you started practicing the blood floating Buddha. I just started practicing it not long ago. Luo Yan answered truthfully. Dizeng said, he should have mentioned to you that Minister Fang of the Information Department also practices a blood floating Buddha. Luo Yan nodded. Teacher Wendy asked me to ask Minister Fang for advice, but I haven't found a suitable opportunity. Dizeng stood up and said, it's better to do it now than to wait for a day. I just happened to have an appointment with Mr. Fang to discuss something. Come on, I'll introduce you to each other. But whether you can win Mr. Fang's favor depends on you. In a blink of an eye, Liu Yang followed Zeng to the underground city municipal building. Not long after, he met Fang Yao from the information department. When the minister came in and saw Liu Yang, he was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled. It seemed that he guessed something. Zeng said at this time, "Old Fang, you are here. Please take a seat. During the election, you helped me a lot, and I haven't thanked you properly yet." Fang Yao smiled faintly. "What are you thanking me for? I just said a few words and walked around. It's not a big deal. You can be elected as the city lord, then you have the ability of Captain D. It has nothing to do with Fang." Zeng's cold face broke into a smile, and then he said simply, "This is Liu Yan. Consider me half a student." Liu Yan's heart was slightly shocked. Although Zeng said that he would not help, he still used the teacher-student relationship to help him. He clenched his fist slightly, took a step forward, and said in a deep voice, "Hello, Minister Fang Yao." Fang Yao glanced at him and said, "This is the second time we meet. The last time we met, I looked at your hands. Your hands are full of evil spirits, destined to kill countless people. People like you are born evil stars. If you cause trouble, there will be countless lives and mountains of bones. So at that time, I just looked at your hands and didn't make any further contact with you. Do you know why?" Liu Yang guessed that it was probably to observe himself. He didn't want to be too sharp, nor did he want to appear stupid. So after thinking for a moment, he said, "Minister Fang should have his own considerations, and I dare not speculate rashly." Fang Yao laughed, pointing at Zeng. "You also said that this kid is as sharp as a knife and speaks directly, so I shouldn't be surprised. I think he is smart." He threw the problem back to me and gave himself the name of a student. This clearly wants Fang to accept him. Liu Yang couldn't help but look at Zeng and was moved. It turned out that he had already mentioned himself to Fang Yao. Fang Yao smiled and looked Liu Yang up and down. "I'm not afraid to tell you. From the first time I saw you, I really liked you. That day you killed all the guys in the security department. Very cruel. Just like me back then. Of course he's much worse than me. 20 years ago, Fang's name could make a child stop crying. That was a reputation earned through real killing. So when I saw you, I knew that you and I were the same kind of people. We are both shy and sure. But because of this, I need to be more cautious about whether I can entrust my life's learning to someone like you." Zeng said at this time, "You have considered it for so long. Old Fang, you should have made a decision, right?" Fang Yao glanced at him. "You are more anxious than this kid." Then he looked at Liu Yan meaningfully. "If one day, a strong enemy is in front of you, you need to sacrifice to get rid of this enemy. At that time, how will you choose between yourself and all living beings?" Liu Yan narrowed his eyes slightly, then closed his eyes. A moment later, following his inner thoughts, he said, "I will find a way to kill the strong enemy without sacrificing myself." Fang Yao said, "You are not willing to sacrifice yourself?" Liu Yan opened his eyes. "If you don't even love yourself, how can you love all living beings? Besides, I don't think I'm a saint. I can't sacrifice for someone I don't care about and don't know." Fang Yao said with a gloomy face, "You should know what the consequences of saying this will be." Liu Yan said frankly, "I know. Minister Fang said before that he was worried that I would bring disaster to the area and cause the lives of the people to be destroyed. Now I raise the topic of sacrifice to see if I have great love in my heart. I know that if I answer yes, it will be more in line with your expectations. But I don't want to deceive Minister Fang, let alone myself. I know what kind of person I am. I can't do what Minister Fang wants." He looked at Zeng again. "Sorry, Captain. I'm wasting your efforts. As for the secret method, I will study and explore it myself, so I won't bother Minister Fang." After that, Fang Yao laughed. "You are a humble boy, but you are actually very proud. You can get my advice if you lie to me so that you can avoid some detours. But you are not even willing to do this. Okay. A man must have a strong character to stand between heaven and earth." Fang Yao stood up and pointed up and down. "Only in this way can you stand tall and proud." Chapter 516 Allies. Junheo Club. Indoor swimming pool. Luo Xianai, wearing diving goggles and swimming trunks, plunged into the water. Although he is no longer young, Luo Xianai's body is still well managed. The muscles are slightly loose, but the overall lines are still clear. After going back and forth in the pool several times, he boarded the pool. A slender and beautiful assistant handed out a bath towel. After Luo Xianai wrapped his body, the assistant helped to wipe off the water droplets on his body. Then he changed into a bathrobe and came to a nearby beach lounge chair. Here, the former Corps Commander Gaolin was smoking with his legs crossed. Some medicinal herbs were added to his cigarettes, which can be used for health preservation and adjustment of injuries. While Gaolin was puffing, Luo Xianai took a sip of ginseng tea and smiled. Mr. Gao, I've troubled you recently. Before the Lantern Festival, the Dark Owl was destroyed by the Red Gate, and Wanqing's father and son were killed by the Red Ghost at the birthday banquet. Gaolin, who was at the birthday banquet at the time, was targeted by Dizeng, who came in disguise, and could not help. After that, Dizeng gave a warning and left. With Wanqing's death, Luo Xianai's plan to dismantle Dizeng's platform at the Lantern Festival naturally fell through. The plan for the visualization technique for all people has been proposed and has received a warm response. The Ministry of Education is now revising the textbooks, and each school will recruit some practitioners to serve as mentors to guide students in practicing visualization techniques. At that time, those practitioners who meet the requirements will be trained by teachers from Basin Academy. These things are being carried out in full swing and have formed a trend that Luo Xianai can no longer stop. Due to the appearance of Dizeng, Luo Xianai is worried about being targeted by the underground city and even more afraid of revenge from the Red Gate. So during this period of time, Gaolin was allowed to follow him in and out. Even when sleeping, Gaolin was asked to sleep in the next room. At this moment, Gaolin smiled slightly. It's not a trouble, it's my duty. Gao has a stubborn illness. If it weren't for the support of the Luo family, I would have to take medicine every day. How could Gao live such an easy and happy life? So, Mr. Luo, you don't have to be polite. Luo Xianai sighed lightly and said, I didn't expect that the Red Ghost of the Red Gate was so troublesome. I have been running business in the old city for many years. He secretly supported several organizations, among which the Dark Owl was the most successful. I didn't expect that it would be destroyed by the Red Ghost. Gaolin nodded lightly. The origin of that Red Ghost must not be simple. This man is very young, but his combat power is not low. Although he is only at the advanced level, he has secret skills and unique skills. This must be an elite trained by some large organization. It is impossible for such a master to appear among the people. Luo Xianai smiled. Since we can't defeat them physically, let's use our wits to defeat them. This time I support 1ZH Tang and let them specifically fight against Han men. If their financial resources are cut off, they will only have two choices. One is to take risks and launch armed retaliation against us. Then Luo can use official power and seize the opportunity to wipe out Han men. Their second choice is to negotiate with me so that I can secretly control Han men. Let them do what I want. Gaolin narrowed his eyes slightly, always feeling that Luo Xianai was playing with fire. He just said that the Red Ghost might be an elite trained by a large organization. Luo Xianai still insisted on moving Han men, which might bring him a fatal disaster. However, Gaolin knew that Luo Xianai was in a difficult situation now. Although Dizeng had not done anything yet. But when Dizeng appeared at the Wanqing birthday banquet, he obviously had grasped some of the situation. For Luo Xianai, Dizeng, who had become the city lord, was not only a fishbone stabbing in his throat. Moreover, this fishbone might also make him die. So he was eager to change. Mastering the red door would make his situation a little better. By the way, Mr. Gao, Luo Xianai stood up. I have an appointment with someone. Can you accompany me? The old man in a black gown and cloth shoes of the same color stood up slowly. Of course. The two left the Junheo Club. First, they took Luo Xianai's carriage back to the mansion on Jiuying Avenue. Later, they left from the secret passage of the Luo family. Finally, they changed to an inconspicuous car and came to the old city. Luo Xianai, who had changed into simple clothes, put on a hat and disguised himself. Gaolin accompanied him into a Majin Hall. There are many Majin Halls in the old city, and places like this are very common. There are already several tables in the Majin Hall with people sitting. Luo Xianai took Gaolin through the hall and came to a quiet room at the back. In the quiet room, there was a man sitting. His hair was combed back, and he was wearing sunglasses. He wore a red lapel shirt with a white casual suit, with his sleeves rolled up, and a pair of crocodile leather shoes with gold pieces on the toes. Very exaggerated. Very fancy. In sharp contrast to Luo Xianai's simplicity, Luo Xianai walked in. The latter stood up with a smile on his face. "Mr. Luo is here," he said. Luo Xianai nodded slightly. "Sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Aoyang. I just came here after handling some matters. You have been waiting for a long time, right?" The man with the slicked back hair waved his hand. "Not long." Then his eyes fell on Gaolin. "Who is this?" "Mr. Gao, this is Mr. Aoyang Hua." Luo Xianai glanced at the man with the slicked back hair. "Mr. Aoyang Hua is from the south and is an elite of the Huanquan organization." Gaolin's eyes flickered, but he did not express his opinion. Luo Xianai introduced Aoyang Hua again. "Mr. Gao is my good friend, and there are no secrets between him and me." This clearly shows his trust in Gaolin. Gaolin smiled slightly, not very interested in Luo Xianai's skills of controlling others. He was no longer at the age where he would open his heart to others as soon as they showed their kindness. However, Gaolin was very surprised. Luo Xianai actually hooked up with a southerner, an organization from the southern border. Huanquan? Never heard of it. Aoyang Hua laughed and shook hands with Gaolin, then said, "Mr. Luo, the conditions you proposed before. After our research and discussion, our Mr. Yinrang has agreed. We also want to let you know our sincerity. Don't worry, we Huanquan will help you. You can get whatever you want in Guangling City. We can even help you take the position of City Lord." Luo Xianai smiled. "That's great. In that case, I have something to do at the moment. I want to ask your organization for help." Aoyang Hua's face became serious. "From today on, we are allies. Your business is our business, Mr. Luo. If you need any help, just say it." Luo Xianai sighed. "I have a son who died tragically at the hands of his classmates. I have never had the opportunity to avenge my poor child. I wonder if Mr. Aoyang can help me fulfill my long cherished wish and put this matter to rest." Chapter 517. Touchstone. Squeak. The tires of the car rubbed against the rough ground with a sharp sound, and the dusty door opened. Aoyang Hua, dressed in fancy clothes, got out of the car and said to Luo Xianai in the car with a smile, "Thank you, Mr. Luo. Give me a ride. Don't worry about your business. Leave it to me." He patted his chest and walked into the small building. Pushing open the door, the light in the small building was dim. A man was smoking. Aoyang Hua coughed twice and waved his hand to drive away the choking smell of smoke. "Are you going to die? I've told you so many times not to smoke in the house or open the window. If I catch you smoking again, I'll kill you." "Where's Jiuying?" The man quickly stamped out his cigarette. "Brother Jiuying is in the house. If he doesn't get up at this time, he must be sleeping with a woman. Damn it. The eldest brother is running around outside, and he, as a younger brother, knows how to enjoy himself." As he said that, Aoyang Hua went upstairs and kicked open the door of a room. A woman's cry came from the door. A girl in her 20s pulled up her clothes to cover her chest and looked at Aoyang Hua in panic. A man came out of the bed. He had a short haircut, like a prisoner who had been released after serving his sentence. He cursed without seeing the person clearly. "Who is it that disturbed your father's sleep?" Aoyang Hua chuckled and laughed instead of getting angry. "Okay, Jiuying, you are so brave to talk to me like that." The man saw that it was Aoyang Hua, and without saying a word, he slapped himself first. Then he put on a smile and said, "Brother Hua, you're back." Then he said to the woman next to him, "Get out." The woman said anxiously, "You haven't paid yet." "You." Jiuying raised his hand to hit her. "Why are you hitting me? You don't have to pay for sleeping. Did I teach you that?" Aoyang Hua slapped Jiuying. Jiuying quickly said yes. took out the money, and sent the girl away. When he came back, he saw Jiuying who were throwing a photo on the table. Jiu walked over and picked up the photo. There was a young man in it, with black hair and red eyes, and a sharp look. Brother Hua, what is this? A difficult question given by that old guy Luo Xianai. He intends to use it to test us. Jiuying Hua sneered. This old fox is really cautious. He is also worried that we are not strong enough, so he uses this kid to make some golden stone. He wants us to kill this kid. Jiu laughed. Isn't that easy? This kid looks very young. Maybe he has never tasted the taste of a woman. Nonsense. You think everyone is like you. Jiuying Hua said unhappily. Don't underestimate this kid. This is a student of Basin Academy, and it won't be simple for Luo Xianai to use him to make some golden stone. You find someone to dig up his background first, and see what level he is, and then we will make a decision. Jiu nodded repeatedly, put the photos away, and then said, CUI cakes in, that rubbish, can't even do a small thing. He actually failed here. It's really embarrassing for us. Otherwise, why would our brother Hua come out in person and let Master Ang agree to so many requests from the surname Luo? Jiuying Hua looked at him and said with a smile, are you done? If you're done, get back to work, you street bastard. Yes, yes, yes. RJIU said with a grin, I'll be there soon. Brother Hua, you take a rest. He walked out the door. RJIU's smile disappeared immediately. He came downstairs. He shouted to 3 or 5 men, get to work. Asterisk 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 Basin Academy. Luo Yan walked on the campus. Now, he has a small notebook in his pocket. It was given to him by Fang Yao, some experience in practicing blood floating Buddha. Originally, Luo Yan had prepared to be turned away. Unexpectedly, Fang Yao actually agreed with what he said. And from the fact that he carried this small notebook with him, it seemed that Fang Yao was ready to give it to him from the beginning. Thinking of this, Luo Yan was moved. He thought to himself that he was a survivor on the surface. First, he was recognized by Dizeng and taken to the underground city. Then he accepted Wei Fenghua's guidance and gradually grew up. Now he has Fang Yao's help, which allows him to take fewer detours in practicing secret methods. If I succeed in the future, I must find a way to repay those who have helped me. At this time, Luo Yan's heart moved. Then he heard Yang Lix's voice. Student Luo, you're back. How was it? Did you see Senior He and his group joining ceremony? Yang Lixi walked over, his hands in his pockets, smiling. Luo Yang nodded and said directly, if you have something to say, just say it. Yang Lixi showed an exaggerated expression. Wow, Student Luo, you really can't hide anything from you. Look, Student Liu's birthday is coming soon. What do you think I should give her? I'm kidding. Student Luo, don't run. Yang Lixi quickened his pace and caught up with Luo Yan. Then he lowered his voice. Let's get down to business. Are you free these days? Let's go to Qingyang. The cultivation garden has been sorted out. Luo Yan nodded. Okay, you arrange it. Just give me the departure time. That's great. Yang Lixi said again. Classmate Liu's birthday is really coming up, and I haven't decided what to give her. Hey, can't you just listen to me for a few words? Okay. Remember to go find teacher Shi. I just went to the logistics department to exchange some things, and teacher Shi is looking for you. Luo Yan waved his hand to show that he understood. The next day, Luo Yan came to the mecha upgrade warehouse. The barn had been transported back. It was being upgraded now. When he came to the warehouse, Luo Yan saw that his mecha was almost disassembled. Seeing Luo Yan coming, Ziguangao, the mentor who presided over this upgrade project, came over with a tablet computer. Take a look at this. He stuffed the tablet computer into Luo Yan's hands. Luo Yan looked over and saw some charts and data inside. He recognized every word of these things. He didn't know what they meant when they were put together. This is a superconducting neural feedback system. Ziguangao said with a smile. The superconducting system is a cutting-edge technology that has just been developed in the past 2 years. Compared to the old feedback system, it emphasizes the connection between the equipment body circuit and the sensor, as well as the core processing system. It can accelerate the neural current and energy operation data, improve the flexibility of the body operation, and increase the speed of energy distribution. After speaking, Zhuangguo said again, "By the way, I saw your Forbidden Area combat report. There is a high-level giant beast core in it. I suggest you replace it with 3 TOT cores to strengthen the supercore matrix on the beacon. Add the first 3. The matrix with 6 cores will not only stimulate the third giant beast characteristic, it can also activate the transcendence mode. This is the real essence of the matrix. After activating the transcendence mode, all the already activated giant beast characteristics will be deepened and qualitatively changed." Chapter 518 Large-Scale Upgrade. Transcendence Mode. Luo Yan remembered that in the first grade, when Feng Hua told him that when the core of the supercore matrix reached 6, a special function would be activated. A year later, he naturally knew that the special function was the Transcendence Mode, a mode that surpassed the original matrix performance. According to the records, once the core of a giant beast like TOT activates the Transcendence Mode, the characteristics of the giant beast will be deepened and qualitatively changed. Invisibility can not only hide the body, but also converge the sound. And it can simulate and deduce the changes in the surrounding environment, so that when the mecha is in action, the surrounding environment will not be abnormal or inconsistent, achieving true invisibility. The energy absorption characteristic accelerates the speed of absorbing energy and bursting kinetic energy, improving efficiency and power. At the same time, energy absorption can be used actively to absorb the target's energy when attacking the target. It's just that the speed and efficiency will be discounted. As for the other 2 characteristics of the giant beast, gluttony and sprinting, they will also have different performances. Luo Yan nodded. "Okay, the giant beast core will be temporarily registered in the strategic palace. I will apply for a replacement and ask them to send 3 TOT cores over." At this time, a carrier vehicle came in and stopped in the warehouse. The cabin opened, and the students controlled the lifting equipment to lift up a machine gun used by the mecha. This machine gun is all black and has a unique shape, especially its wheel-shaped magazine, which looks like it can hold a lot of bullets. Zhuangguo said, "Heavy class machine gun, Storm. It uses a special excitation system and cooling system, which can maintain an overall temperature of no more than 80 degrees after firing a large number of bullets. Its rate of fire can accumulate to 12,400 rounds in 1 minute. The specially manufactured chamber pressure internal circulation system will continuously accumulate air pressure for the ejector and the barrel. The large caliber muzzle is similar to an extremely advanced wind tunnel, which can continuously output wind pressure of up to 17 times the speed of sound. This makes the fired bullets sweep the opponent as violently as a storm. In addition, it can use the Yuanli energy supply system, which is designed for the anti-membrane of upper-level behemoths. In addition to ensuring that the Yuanli will not be wasted, the internal Yuanli distribution system will also distribute it very evenly to each bullet, so that the same 1 unit of Yuanli can produce more Yuanli bullets. Zhuangguo said, "I will use it to replace your Jiuying compared to the previous aircraft cannon. Storm is better in all aspects, especially in fire suppression, far better than Yazi." The instructor explained the upgraded Bion to Luo Yan, so that he could understand more clearly what upgrades his mecha had made. In addition to the rifle Storm, Zhuangguo also replaced the long sword for the mecha. He replaced it with the heavy sword Dragon Elephant for the mecha, which is also a divine weapon, with the same effect as Luo Yan's. It's just that the size is magnified tens of millions of times. According to Zhuangguo's estimate, after the upgrade of Bion, it should be able to reach the evaluation of the Divine Guard elite level. Starting from the Divine Guard level, the body has a more detailed level division. For example, when the White Dragon was just upgraded to the Divine Guard level, it was only the entry level. Later, it was upgraded again, and became the regular level. Bion was also a regular level before the upgrade. The next level is the advanced level. But Zhuangguo made a large-scale upgrade to the body, so he skipped the advanced level and directly reached the elite level. Above this level, there is one last rating. Peak level. At this level, there is basically no way to upgrade. especially for the God level body. Above this level is the God General, and the God General level body cannot be upgraded by upgrading equipment alone. Moreover, this large-scale upgrade cannot be completed in 1 or 2 days. Zhuangguo gave an estimate of at least 1 month. So Luo Yan could only report to the core, and he basically could not go out on missions this month. He left the mecha upgrade warehouse, remembering that Yang Lixi said yesterday that Shi Haoting was looking for him. So he came to the logistics department. When he came to the logistics department, he saw crackling sounds coming from Shi Haoting's own private laboratory behind the logistics department. Suddenly, a tongue of fire rushed out of the window, followed by billowing smoke. Luo Yan quickly activated the Wu Wang burning eyes and captured Shi Haoting's biological grey light in the laboratory. A moment later, the pharmaceutical instructor was placed on the grass by Luo Yan, and the students and security guards were putting out the fire. Fortunately, the fire in the laboratory was not big and was quickly extinguished. Shi Haoting coughed and wiped his face, which was blackened by smoke. With a grey face, he took out a box from his arms, opened it and took a look. There was a bottle of medicine in the box. He breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the new medicine I developed was not damaged. Luo Yan looked at his laboratory that was still smoking and frowned. Teacher Shi, what did you do in there? It caught fire. What else can I do? I've been studying this new medicine recently. I tell you, it is very helpful for the cultivation of the higher level realm. Even the Tangsuan realm can use it to cultivate. Its effect is similar to the Yuan enhancement agent of the strategic palace. At most, it is about 20% worse than the effect of the Yuan enhancement agent. But its cost is much less than the Yuan enhancement agent, and it can be mass produced. In this way, at least the higher level cultivators will increase significantly, and the cultivation speed will be faster. After all, not everyone can afford the Yuan enhancement agent. This is true. Luo Yan was willing to spend money on cultivation, but this energy enhancing agent still couldn't be drunk like the previous medicines. Now that he heard that Shi Haoting's new medicine actually had 80% of the effect of the energy enhancing agent, and it was low cost, and could be mass produced, he couldn't help but be tempted. What's the name of your medicine? Shi Haoting said, it's just been developed, and it hasn't been named yet. I'm looking for you to test the medicine. Haven't you already started practicing in the advanced realm? Here you go. I'll prepare another batch later, and you can help me try it. Luo Yan took the box. Then the pharmaceutical instructor said, by the way, it has some side effects. There's no way to control costs. There will definitely be some minor problems. But don't worry, its side effects will not harm your body. That is, if you use it too much, you will lose your hair, but it shouldn't be a problem for male practitioners. Even if you become a bald head, it's worth it to be able to reach the Tangsuan realm, isn't it? Why are you looking at me like that? No, just put it back to me. Student Luo, don't go. Come back. Don't worry, I still have hair growth potion here. You can use both together. You won't become a bald head. Hey. Chapter 519 Breath of Death. That night, Old City, Jiuying brought a few men back to the organization's base, a small building. After entering the house, Jiuying left the men behind and found our Yang Hua alone. Brother Hua, we are back. Our Yang Hua said and threw a cigarette to his confidant. How is it? Have you found out the news about the kid surnamed Luo? Yes. That kid is incredible. Jiuying said with a smile. He is young, but his strength is not weak. Guess what? He is in the advanced realm. Yes, that kid has cultivated to the advanced realm, although it is only the first level. Oh my god. I really can't imagine it. I'm only at the second level of the intermediate realm, and that kid who is a few years younger than me is actually in the advanced realm. Yang Hua took a puff of cigarette. Advanced realm? No wonder the guy surnamed Luo threw him out to do some tricks. I knew he was not a soft specimen. There's nothing strange about this. He is a student of Basin Academy. If he is fully cultivated by the school, it is normal for him to break through quickly. But when he reaches the advanced realm, his cultivation speed is not so fast. Being in the advanced realm as well, Bao Yang Hua has a deep understanding of this. Jiuying sighed. Even so, after more than a year of enrollment, he has cultivated from an ordinary person to the advanced realm. This kid is not simple. Brother Hua, it may be difficult for us to deal with him alone. Why don't we call one or two of Mr. Jiuying and the others over? Jiuying Hua glared at him. Is that all you can do? An advanced realm, and only one level. Are you scared? I'm not scared at all. What are you afraid of? I won't ask you to die. Agio said with a smile. I'm not afraid that you, Brother Hua, can't chew this hard bone. Jiuying Hua sneered. Do you think an advanced realm student who grew up in a greenhouse can fly to the sky? I know this kind of person too well. It's useless to have realm without experience. What's more, it's only one level. Agio blew a smoke ring and said with a smile. That's right, Brother Hua, you are at the 3rd level of the advanced realm. You have rich practical experience, and you are not the kind of person that a young boy can mess with. That's what if that kid hides in the 100 Battles Academy and doesn't come out. Then we can't do anything to him. We can't just rush into the academy. The teachers in the academy are not for show. There must be at least 3 or 5 high-level teachers. Otherwise how can they teach those students? Jiuying Hua flicked off the ash from his cigarette. That's not our problem. We are only responsible for killing people. As for how to lure people out of the academy, let Luo Xian'ie, the old fox, figure it out. If he can't do it, don't blame us for not helping. Agio stood up. I understand. I'll go to the Luo family and ask Luo Xian'ie to find a way to lure people out of the academy. Go. Jiuying Hua waved his hand. Agio left this hiding place and walked alone on the streets of the old city. When he passed by the Jude restaurant, he raised his head and glanced at the restaurant. He chuckled twice. Sooner or later, the Hangman territory will be ours, so let you be proud for a few more days. Agio lowered his hat to cover his face and quickened his pace. At this time, in the quiet room of Jude restaurant, Luo Yan took off his mask and cloak. He exhaled gently. Then, he stimulated the dragon blood essence in his body. That day in the Valley of Sorrow, Aoyi's beast soul dispersed into the ghosts and was about to return to his body. He once got into the cab of Bayan. At that time, Luo Yan was driving in the dragon transformation posture, so the lizard dragon beast devoured the ghosts wantonly. Then he fell into a deep sleep. It was not until 1 or 2 days, Luo Yan felt that the dragon blood essence became active again. He wanted to see if there would be any new changes in the dragon transformation posture now, but he was worried that he would be noticed by the teacher in the academy. So he came to the old city and came to his own territory. At this time, dragon scales began to appear on Luo Yan's body. These red scales covered Luo Yan's whole body, and even his face was occupied by these scales. At the same time, Luo Yan's eyes, the whites of his eyes turned black, and his red eyes emitted an amazing red light. At this time, Luo Yan exuded an extremely obvious murderous aura, with malice surging and hostility surging. This terrible aura was naturally not limited to the small room. It spread rapidly and instantly spread throughout the restaurant. In a room, Yang Tao, who was practicing secret techniques, suddenly had her hair standing up all over her body. In a trance, she seemed to hear the sound of a beast swallowing saliva behind her. Yang Tao's whole body was weak, like a small beast targeted by its natural enemy. It was so scared that it couldn't move. In another room, Wenzhao poured himself a cup of tea and was about to take a sip. Suddenly, his hand shook and he couldn't even hold the teacup. He was overwhelmed by the murderous aura that came out of nowhere. He felt a chill on his back and broke out in a cold sweat. His senses kept shrinking inward. For a while, Wenzhao's lips turned pale and his face was bloodless. He was shaking all over. In the restaurant, the higher the realm, the more obvious the feeling was. On the contrary, those ordinary people just felt that the temperature seemed to have dropped a little and it was cold all around. But the reaction was not as strong as Yang Tao and Wenzhao. In the quiet room, Luo Yan's transformation into a dragon posture was still changing. From his shoulders and fists, black, thick and short bone spurs emerged. Then, on the forehead, the scales separated to both sides. A short black curved horn emerged, and this curved horn seemed far from complete. Just like bamboo shoots after rain, only a small horn emerged. But even if it was just such a small horn, Luo Yan could feel it. The curved horn contained an astonishing breath of death. It was not only the death energy that was swallowed from Pan Crossing's mecha when it went out of control before. There was also the death energy contained in Aoyi's minions and some beast souls. Now these death energies merged together to form this curved horn and those bone spurs. Then, almost instinctively, Luo Yang knew that after he killed the opponent in the transformation into a dragon posture, the opponent's breath after death would be absorbed and stored. This breath was the death energy. These dead air can be used as the fuel for the future 10 directions Nirvana spear. It can also be silently injected into the opponent's body with the help of amber light, just like using the essence of poison. It will make the opponent weak and affected by the dead air. If it is an ordinary person, the dead air will even attack the heart and die on the spot. In this way, now when Luo Yan shows the dragon transformation form, he is not only fierce, but also exudes a sense of death. After figuring out the new changes in the dragon transformation posture, Luo Yan lifted this posture. He frowned. Although the dragon transformation posture has been strengthened, and he has more trump cards, this posture makes him more and more uncomfortable. He always feels like he is slowly turning into a beast, a fierce beast. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.